Shall we wait for Anne to come through?
Let me text her real quick.
One, two, 1, 2.
Let's give it just a couple more seconds, maybe a couple more minutes if you indulge her.
Not a problem on our side. Let this be like a coffee thing and I can look at all your backgrounds. Karen, I really love the picture behind you. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do too. It's a large print by a Chinese artist, Hong Lu, who's very, very well known internationally. She's an amazing artist.
Yeah, that really struck me when your screen came on. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like being near her. She's
Okay,
the
we're
purple
ready
nun.
when you.
It's actually a depiction of a prostitute, but made into a nun. She calls it the Blue Nun, although
Oh,
it is
beautiful.
purple. Yeah.
Am I ready? Yes, I can.
On our side, we're ready to go as soon as Anne is able to connect. Jamie, if you can, through the meeting, if you can just give me a heads up if there's any documents you're particularly going to want to see so that I can open them before we get going.
Okay, very good. And Kevin, just so you know, if you go to our website, Global Philanthropy Alliance, and a little icon at the top that says login, and if you click that and type in the password, let me know when you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Is this for me, Jamie?
Oh no, this is for Kevin, just so he knows where all the documents are in case he'd like to review them.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
Okay, log in.
Yep, and then the password is learning123.
All small letters.
All small, no spaces.
There's Ann.
And then once that
There you are.
Welcome back, Ann.
go down about to the bottom of the page, there's a lot of information on that page, but towards the bottom there's all the South African grants, all the South African videos, the schedule of today's events, everything you need.
Perfect.
Okay, and there's Ann, so we're good.
My name.
And I don't have to run off to a party today, so I'm here.
You're captive.
Nobody gets to run off the party.
So is that
I think
line ready to go?
Yes, I think we're all in now and ready to go.
Okay, so we
if
should
I can
unmute.
Yes, please.
So the presenter. Yeah.
Yes, please. So Flatline is a digital radio station, as well as a music production company, but they work out of Vilagazi Street. And if you've been to Soweto, you definitely would have seen Vilagazi Street. And they essentially are able then to democratize the creation of audio media at community level. But let me leave it to Kwanda to get to it.
Okay, great. Firstly, I just want to say good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for taking the time to consider us for the grant. Firstly, my name's Kundawat Kondwani Mtonga.
Sorry, can I just interfere? Can you
Of course you
switch
can.
off your second machine, because you're coming through on two things, so the sound is circulating.
Can you switch off the sound on this?
Or you can just mute your second one or something like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Let me try mute this.
There we go. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Now you need to unmute the other one.
I don't know how to do that. Can I get some assistance?
No, that's good.
Is this
as
good?
it goes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, yeah, so taking it from the top again, guys. My name's Kunda Kondwani Mutonga. I'm Zambian born, but based in South Africa, so I'm a Zambian South African. And yeah, grown up here, gone to school, further education here in music production and business management. Started a production company about 6 years ago, Flatline Music, and that was based on digital distribution. So something to also support my own creative career is where the whole concept came from. Also from studying music and understanding how many artists get taken advantage of, I wanted to do one better. So that's how Flatline Music started. It was facilitated to kind of help me find my own feet in the creative industry and help other artists that are like-minded and people that I believe in their talent. So we built this whole thing up over a period of 4 years where we got all this content and got to the next problem, which was how do we monetize 200 gigs of content that we've built up over the last couple of years. So with only about 5% of my catalog being out commercially and earning money. So that's where Flatline Radio started. So Flatline Radio was a solution that allows us to monetize our own music and populate it and be able to talk about it and get fans to engage and start consuming it without waiting for the industry, finding it hard to obviously get it through all these commercial channels. So, but this opened up the business in a great way because it obviously now gave us a voice to actually talk to people, compile music, and be more of a cultural business, which is something that we really about. And we love the fact that we're based on Vilakazi Street. We understand the fact that it's an iconic set. Grammy, two Nobel Peace Prizes, Nobel Peace Prize winners come from the same street. So we understand how important that is for even what we're trying to do in terms of transformation for the whole community and uplifting the arts in Africa, in South Africa and Africa beyond. So we call ourselves Africa to the world at Flatline Radio. And that's because we live that. We believe that we can create our own solutions that are very much world-class and package them and put them to the world and let them get consumed by the world markets. And that's how we're going to get sustainability and be able to build and support all the artists that we have under our banner, as well as just giving something back to the industry in terms of another platform, instead of just looking like another artist coming to the industry looking to gain off the same avenues. I'm personally not somebody that would just wait. So I feel that this is something that I take with honor in terms of providing a solution that really offers other artists and creatives avenue and hope for something sustainable with independence. You know, owning what your product is. So in terms of preparing today, I actually just went back to the application that I was sent, and I answered the questions that were put across in terms of what were the requirements are. So yeah, so I just in short, we are a youth-based business. I'm the founder of the business. I'm only 34 years old, so I'm working with both young guys and girls, and we work together in cohesion for the same goal at the end of the day. And these are guys from presenters to designers to editors to script writers to composers, authors. It's across the whole creative spectrum. And then we believe we are a world-class solution that really supports independence. So we love the independent initiative, and we love the fact that we also add to the industry. So that's another thing. Then the next point is we're definitely a young business on both sides, on both Flatline Music side and Flatline Radio side. I mean, it's great that Flatline Music has been here for the last 5 to 6 years and is forging its way. But Flatline Radio is only going to be 2 years in December. So something like this would just empower how we reach the 2-year mark and our goals. When I did the application, we weren't actually working with an NGO yet, but we had something in the pipelines. But from that time, just from the time that I started the application to now, we are fully working with the NGO called ACT Africa. They fight child trafficking and domestic violence, and we released a track in partnership with them on Women's Day called Superwoman. It's artists that are signed to Flatline Music called The Disciples, and this track called Superwoman has been endorsed by ACT Africa, which is an NGO fight combating something that is a global problem, and as a result of ACT Africa endorsing the track, the chairperson from VASA, Ms. Shemaine, has also endorsed it. That's the Business and Arts South Africa. She's the chairman of the board, and she's also got behind our initiative there. So that's another great thing that's happened from us just working with the NGO, and which was part of your requirements that I couldn't answer when I was applying, but at least today I can come in a position where we're working firmly with the NGO and proud of the work that we're doing and the message that we're trying to put across. Currently, we have 4 interns that are working in the business. So going back onto the youth-based side of the business, we really believe in young people. We know that they are our future, and we want to empower them with everything that we do. There's so many people that are getting qualified in South Africa. If they have the ability, first of all, to just get to school and get through school, then come back to sit with the unemployment issue. We understand this, and we want to be part of a solution and not adding to the problem. And that's why our internship program at Flatline Music is a large part of what we are as a business. And we depend on the young people. We give them responsibilities. They're part of the shows. They're part of the deadlines. They're part of the planning process. They're part of the hosting. So we also feel that they also get to learn so many more things than what they would have taken in another media business, as opposed to coming to Flatline, where they're valued from the time that they walk into the door. Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, that's the core of our function is opportunities and sustainable opportunities at the end of the day. And this is also why I'm here today to ask for your assistance. And that's why I believe that with a little bit of assistance, we are definitely a business that's already heading towards sustainability. We understand how we set up in terms of our own infrastructure. We understand the revenue streams that we would like to achieve, and we know that it's a building process in terms of letting the monetization grow to a point where our business is sustainable. And also it's about also penetrating international markets. So if I'm also appealing to a board like this, then I'm doing the right thing, and we're heading in the right direction, because that is what's growing even our market share in Africa to be something that gives back to the whole of Africa, not only South Africa. And that also just goes into how our catalog of music. I mean, we represent stuff in Nigeria, in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Angola, Swaziland. So I mean, and that expands on the Africa to the world message that we're trying to put across, and that the message that we live at the end of the day. So so I mean, it's a long-term goal in terms of sustainability, but we are steadily heading there. And as the leader of the business, it's my focus to obviously monitor this and make sure that it's continually progressing. What would your backing do to a situation like this? It will only take the stress off a little bit from my shoulders personally, but not that that's the most important thing. I don't mind stressing for the business. It will also just allow me to have a more composed structure in terms of how we move forward as a business, knowing that there's capacity to actually support the young people that are in the business. They're in a place where they can actually just really focus and apply themselves and grow with a business that wants to keep them inside the structure when it gets to a point where remuneration and all of that stuff starts happening, which is a guarantee as we grow along and the more support that we get.
Okay, Jamie's calling the time. Are you about finished with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. And my internet is going in and out, so I've missed a few pieces. And in particular, I missed where you started talking about why you need this grant. I mean, your income expense statement looks like you actually are projecting a little surplus. But is there an influx of funds for infrastructure development that is needed to be able to get you to that next level?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we are currently revamping the studio in entirety in Soweto on Vilakazi. So, I mean, I did obviously, when I got the application, all I got given was the fact that I could apply for $5,000, which is a great injection of funds given what we needed. It's not everything that we need, but I mean, it's a great start in just terms of upgrades of equipment and new microphones and stuff like that, just to get us on the front foot in regards to what the transformation is. I did also get asked about what would be my expenses for COVID. So I did break down costs on the other side, just given what the events. I looked at events and what our biggest form of income would have been to make us sustainable this year, which would have been events. So, I mean, my breakdown on support for COVID as well was looking at support for rentals, support for obviously the shortfalls that a little bit of a shortfall that we felt, which I wasn't even looking at a shortfall. I was just thinking, empower me to actually do events. Yes, do more and do more online things and cover even all those gaps. I'd love to do double the work, to be honest with you, and have the capacity to do it so that we can still make the impact as a business that we wanted to this year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's helpful. And so questions from Bob, Karen, Kevin, Bongi, Jamie.
Okay. So I just had a look at your website. I see that you're not streaming live. How do people log in to listen to your music?
The radio station is on Spotify, iTunes. We run it off Anchor FM. Okay, so I had to figure this out as we went along in terms of integration and being available on all the platforms. So one of our partners based in the UK, I had a chat with him telling him what we were trying to achieve, and he said, no, you know what, Kunda, you need to look at this thing called Anchor FM. It's a great thing. So that's how we started the podcast. We started on Anchor FM. And the cool thing about Anchor, it allows you to integrate to all the biggest global podcast stores. So that's actually how we interlinked through iTunes and Spotify and Pocket Caster. So, I mean, literally 10 of the biggest global podcast stores is where you'll find Flatline Radio. So the website is a bit outdated, I'll be honest with you. It's about 3 years at least outdated, but I mean, it's just something that allows us to carry on pushing our identity in business. So obviously we're not going to take anything like that down right now, well, until we really want to revamp the way that we can when it's afforded.
Great.
So, sorry, so is this a podcast or a radio station?
Yeah, it's a podcast. It's we call it online radio. To be honest with you, we call it online radio, but I mean we run it as a podcast. But we do engineering on the show, so it's not just a straightforward podcast. We're actually taking it into studio, engineering the show, putting the music in the playlist. So it actually is better than a podcast, but it's offered on podcast platforms. But even on Spotify, it would be called radio. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So just one last question. So you creating your own music that you're getting out into the world. How many hours a day do you broadcast for, or is it just a set session that's done once a day for an hour or something like that, or is it a full day radio station?
No, yeah, Kevin, that's a good question. It's not a full day radio station, but it has all the potential to become that. This just comes from affordability issue, to be honest with you. So currently now, we've got about 7 shows that we run. So there's Bangers and Mashups, which is a house and a dance chart. There's The Canvas, which is my personal show, which invites all kinds of music and just talks African collaborations. There's the Flatline Top 10, which is the top 10 tracks from the publishing side of the business that are the best, or doing the best, that are in a chart show, in a voted chart show. There's the New Wave, which is a religious a show. There's the Lockdown Chat Room, which is a talk show. And then we also do partnerships based on new ventures, like I was telling you about Act Africa, the NGO that we're working with. How we got into business with them is we ran a 4-part series on Flatline Radio once a week, where we were talking about child trafficking and domestic violence, and that built on into a relationship now where we're doing an online gig raising funds for them, and it's led to the chairman of Business and Art South Africa endorsing one of the songs from Flatline Music as well. So I mean, and then we also did a collaboration with a double Grammy Award winner, Robin Hogarth. We did a business segment to try to teach artists business tools and stuff, and that was also a 4-part series once a week. So I mean, Flatline is really innovative in how it can actually be used, and its flexibility. As much as we are running shows congruently to kind of push our identity out there. I mean, new shows can happen. I mean, even if you guys were interested, just as an example, if the GPA was interested in maybe talking to youth for development and stuff like that, that would be a segment that I'd be interested in facilitating and growing.
And so the social benefit is really through Africa?
Yes, definitely. That's
okay.
That's our goal, Africa to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I'm really unfamiliar with media and radio. Can you explain how you measure your listenership? Is it by organization, by different podcasts? How do you, and has your listenership grown?
Yes. In
the last year and a half?
Yes. Well, that all comes down to monetization. And I mean, it's great that I'd already had 4 years in Flatline Music learning what monetization was, because on Flatline Music, we distribute music on all the digital stores globally. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Google Play Music, and what's nice is I've got a service provider there called Africori, and I'll get all the stats from them quarterly. So I mean, this is how I started to understand what monetization was. Understanding, okay, this actually gives you the direct stats of where your music is played and what the numbers are. So when we started the radio station, obviously that was a big worry for me, because I was like, okay, cool, we have to keep track of everything. But what I do now, I work with Capasso, which is our online musical organization that track our numbers. So I have to actually do physical sheets to report everything that's getting played on all the shows that I submit. Either monthly or quarterly, depending on how the time availability is. But so that's one way of keeping track. But then another thing is, on Anchor, on the dashboard, you actually have a breakdown of the countries that are playing, that it's in already. It has even female and male dynamics, if people would specify that. And even the platforms that they're using it on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or a CPU, or wherever they're listening as well. So, I mean, yes, I do have all the analytics.
Great. Other questions?
How do people?
Yeah, let Karen go first, Kevin.
1 more minute.
Yeah, we just have 1 more minute.
Okay. How do people find your podcast? I mean, I'm obviously not technically competent to understand all the different platforms, But if I were to look for it, how would I find it?
Well, I mean, you'll definitely find it if you just if you Google this. I know it might not be the first thing that popped up, but it will definitely be on the first page of things that popped up. But we've been growing organically through our network. Is what our main goal has been so far. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I mean, the consistency of us promoting every week, and I mean, now we've even got a system where artists are submitting tracks to us on a weekly basis. So further than what we just produce for ourselves, there's a whole bunch of independent artists that have plugged into our network already that gives us catalogs of music. I'm just literally curating and sending to different shows. So I mean, it's the great thing is it's really started organically. I mean, the great over and above the fact that I've already been promoting music for the last 4 years, like I was saying, in Flatline Music. So when Flatline Radio came, it wasn't a far jump out of from where we were. We were already used to populating and trying to populate music. But now we just had something else to populate in Flatline Radio. So that's how we kind of just shifted the attention as well, and been like, guys, look, here's all your favorite music on a show. Here's all your this on the show, or you know what I'm saying? Or here's the new discovered talent on this show. This is your favorite guys from Flatline, on the Flatline Top 10. Or here's the Christian segment where the guys are getting spiritual and music's also coming from all over the world, and that's in that space as well. So it's been very interesting to see that that us calling ourselves Africa to the world wasn't a far reach. It is exactly what it was already. It's just about shaping and streamlining the concept, I think, a little bit better.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
And
Jamie keeps giving us the hook, so
Thank
I
you.
think. But
And if
Bonnie,
I'll
did
just
you
Thank
ask
you so
want?
much.
Yeah, Bonnie had a question.
Yes. If I'll just ask one question. Thank you, Anne. Jamie, sorry, I know you're rushing. The relationship with the NGO that you picked, I find it interesting, and you could explain as to why you would not pick an NGO that is already in the media space and continue to grow in that way, as opposed to, or having the other NGO as well. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a fit, a business fit, but I'm sure it is somehow. I just don't understand it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, ma'am. That is an interesting question. I must say firstly, but the thing that I can say why I say this NGO works the best is because it's a natural fit. I mean, Flatline Music has got a natural will to want to do something great. I mean, we want to help out the community already. I mean, that's a given. It's part of what our DNA is. But in terms of an NGO on board, I wasn't just looking for an NGO just to say we got an NGO. I wanted something that actually works and makes a difference. So even with ACT Africa, I wasn't intending on making them my NGO. We were just trying to achieve something good, spread the message for domestic violence and child trafficking, which is, I was shocked through the series how it's such a big global pandemic or a global problem. You know what I'm saying? I was really shocked, and I was just like, you know what? I can realize there's so many people like me that are in the same situation where they want to help a situation, but they don't know how serious it is, or they don't know how to go about it. So this fit with ACT Africa was just a natural fit from us trying to do something well. The fact that they knew so much in actual media and thing was something that I came surprised. It came surprising. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that the chairperson from the Business and Arts South Africa actually support them that much. You see what I'm saying? All I did was suggest what I could do to help them was, here's a track for you guys to spread your message. Here you guys go. They ended up endorsing the track. Now with their connection, obviously they got to give the track to the chairperson at VASA, who now has sent it to America and the UK in terms of furthering it and spreading it out there, which is brilliant for us as a small African production company. But I think it even makes the connection that much more authentic, because I wasn't looking for a media solution. I was looking for making a difference. And ACT Africa has now actually been a kind of like a media, part of the media solution that we're driving, even though we're making the difference with the NGO.
Okay, I think we need to move on. We clearly could talk a great deal. Thank you so much for your presentation. Very engaging.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's,
Thank you.
yeah,
My
thank you
pleasure,
very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Thank you for
Sako,
taking
are
the time.
we going
luck.
right on to the next one, or what is the plan here?
Pardon me, please. We spend a lot of time unmuting.
Hmm.
How would you prefer to do it? Would you want to discuss amongst yourselves for 5 minutes before I have the next one on? Because we are ready, but we could give you just a few minutes.
Why don't we take the 5
Um,
minutes so that we can have a quick discussion?
Okay.
That'll still keep us on
Okay.
track for the most
Okay,
part.
we're ready, and then in 5 minutes, yeah, no, we're definitely still on track. Jamie, I'll wait for you then to know when to let the next one in. The next group is not here with me, but they're already waiting in our Zoom room, so that's prepared.
Perfect, but nobody
Okay,
can hear
great.
us other than the group, correct?
No, they're in the waiting room.
Super.
So we've still got on here in our studios.
No, it's just you now. It's just you guys now there.
No. In our studios is still present in our group. He needs to log off or.
Oh no, he's here with
to
me. It's
remove
just
him.
one of the monitors that I have in the room with me.
It's her second monitor for the
Yeah.
presentation.
Okay, and while we're doing that, let me just say to Kevin and Bongi, what we've been doing is,
Okay, thanks, Bongi.
in particular, determining whether we need more information on the proposal. In the case, especially of Kenya, we found that there just was information we didn't have that we need to make a decision. Is there anything like that here? It seemed like to me that it was pretty thorough, but Kevin asked questions I wouldn't have thought of, so.
Yes.
The
Yes,
one thing he
Kevin,
did
thank you.
mention Is he mentioned a COVID budget, but I didn't see a COVID.
I didn't see a COVID budget either.
No.
Yeah.
So
He said he had a separate COVID budget, but
yeah,
maybe we should ask about that.
Okay.
if you feel it's worth,
Yeah.
pushing this forward.
For me, the big question is that, look,
Go ahead,
obviously it's
Kevin.
not my field. So I don't understand how he monetizes. So he's with this Anchor FM. Does he pay Anchor FM or do they pay him? Because if they're putting these things out on the Spotify and those things, every time somebody listens to you, somehow you get money. I don't exactly understand how it works. It all works through advertising and processing like that. But I'm trying to understand where his income stream is, because every time he puts somebody's song on, he has to pay them 0.17 cent or something every time somebody listens to it. So there's obviously huge expenses in running something like that. And so his expenses to pay the musicians, but also where's his income coming from? Because I don't understand.
Yeah. It's a good question.
And we've lost Anne again.
She's texting me. Yeah, she's just got a really bad connection today.
Yeah.
So she'll just be coming on and off. I think the big question is this something that we would consider funding given what we know?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, do you want me to pursue those questions?
Yeah. What do you think, Bob? You're muted.
Sorry, thank you, Karen. My
Your
thought
lips
is
are moving.
From 30,000 feet, it's basically capacity building, is looking at what his expenses are. He's increasing his technical capacity to do stuff. I think your questions are very good, Kevin, about how does when this gets running the way you expect it to do, how does your income stream work, and how do your expenses? I mean, the expenses he's showing in his budget don't include paying artists.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I saw. That was why I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I like the energy and enthusiasm and the idea, and I think sustainability made sense because he's going to train and intern people, so he has an ongoing education potential for that as it works out. But it's
now it's in Soweto. At least that's what the grant says. But obviously it goes beyond that.
right.
Excuse me.
You see, the thing is that his position on Vilakazi Street, these are all the questions I wanted to ask. Was do they play music on the street? How does he? Because Vilakazi Street is probably one of the busiest tourist spots in South Africa. You would probably say that 30% of the tourists who come to South Africa go to Vilakazi Street, even if it's just to drive through. So his potential exposure is so humongous for everybody, and they should theoretically log on to his radio or his podcast to actually get some things. So I don't know, because I mean I haven't been to Vilakazi Street obviously this year, so whereas last year I don't seem to recall seeing it. And I'm not there that often. I'd say probably 3-4 times a year, but I don't remember seeing his studio on the street. And I want to know why he came to tell us that he was on Vilakazi Street if he's not leveraging the opportunity.
It's an unusual grant. I mean, we haven't been asked for something like this. I don't know. I kind of like it, but I don't know the answer to all these questions we now have for him. What do you think, Jamie?
I think it could go very, very well or very, very bad. I don't know that it's. I mean, we're investing in, I think, a good thing for this. The hardware to do the job better. I don't have a good sense that they're actually. I mean, look, in the U.S., any Tom, Dick, and Harry can have a podcast and put it on Spotify, and nobody hears it except for the 3 friends that are with.
Yeah, that's what.
I don't know. Maybe we ask them, show us your metrics and and then kind of need more information and take it from there.
Yeah, it appears that he is tracking the metrics. Who is it? Who's listening? What do they listen to?
Yeah, and I like the social component. I like that they're in Soweto. I like that if something goes on in Soweto, they might be the first ones to be able to broadcast it or talk about it. That they have that insight. That
Anne, what do you think?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi keeps going down, and
in
our library. I don't know if it's just here or in the house. I'm trying to find out. We have a house full though, so I don't want to go in there with all the kids. But yeah, it would be an odd grant for us. I'd like to hear from Bongi because she raised the question about why they partnered with this particular organization, and wondered if you had more to say about that.
Is Bongi still?
Yeah, she's on.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Anne. The reason I was asking is they would pick any NGO, and it's good that they pick the one they picked. I like it. I have no issue with it. Just thinking in terms of what they are building, the media area that they are building in, and their NGOs and their young people that are trying to enter the media space as well. So I would have thought that maybe the other, as opposed to a different partner, maybe the other partner would be a partner that would grow with the business itself, so that that NGO or those young people themselves learn about the business and are given opportunity within the business as a not-for-profit. Basic, on the whole, I like it. I like the idea, and I think it's necessary in around Soweto, information, and anyone who's putting information out there in a way that's consumable, by young people, because often, as I think most NGOs, unless we inject new young energy. Most NGOs communicate in the old ways, and in that way we miss out on young people and their participation. So the questions that have been, the question that's kind of buzzing in my head is, it's a business. It has a social part to it. And the way I would, if I was following it up, is to make clear that social part and that investment going both into building the business as a young person's business and the social part, and making sure, Jimmy, as you go and as you work with Nsako, that is clear that there will be a social benefit that is sustainable as much as the company itself is sustainable. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, that's really a good question.
That's well put.
I think we need to move forward.
So let's
Need to
go
go.
with both those questions and we'll go on to the next one. Is it Ambani?
I believe so. I'm letting Sako know.
And
Are we
whenever
good?
I freeze, just pick up the slack, because I don't know what's happening to my Wi-Fi, but sometimes there's storms. Good old consumer power, or I guess this would be the...
Guys, can you put the camera on me, please? Are we good to come back again?
Yes.
All right, perfect. I'm going to link up Ambani now. Ambani has developed an online, an app essentially that helps children learn indigenous languages through the app. I'll let them explain it for themselves. I've just admitted them into the chat. There we go. Hey guys, hey Mukundi.
Hi everyone, how are you this afternoon? Well, afternoon here.
Greetings.
Hello, greetings.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Morning.
I'm Ann Peterson for Global Philanthropy Alliance, and we have with us from the board Karen Stone and Bob Judd, and we also have, and Bongi Makabela is also a board member, and we have with us as a GPA friend in South Africa, Kevin Friedman. And then Jamie, whom you might have met before, is the executive director with us. So we'll listen to your presentation for about 10 minutes. Jamie will be our timekeeper. When she starts waving your arms, it's time to go. And then we'll have some questions for you after your presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. May I share my screen?
Does it give you permission to share your screen? If it does, you may.
Permission, share, okay. I hope you're all seeing my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, good, I'm ready. All right, so thank you so much everyone for this time. I'm going to take you through a little bit of our company and then a bit more about this project. So my name is Mukundi, first of all, and I'm the founder of Ambani Africa. So first of all, can anyone here help me answer this very, very simple question? I'm assuming not, but it simply asks, what is 1 + 1? So meet Shoni. He's 6 years old and he's in grade R. He speaks the language of isiZulu at home. His parents want him to learn English because they know that this will present opportunities for him, but his teachers really want him to understand what he's learning at school, but there isn't enough capacity and resources to do this. He's one of the 1.2 million learners who start their early education journey each new year in South Africa. By the time he's in grade 4, Shoni will be expected to use the same assessments and the same textbooks as his English-speaking peers who have had a 9 to 10 year head start at this point. It's very difficult, as you can imagine, to learn a new language well enough to be able to learn through it. So by the time he's in grade 4, Shoni and 78% of his peers won't be able to read for meaning. And by the time he's in grade 5, he won't be able to do basic calculations. There are limited resources for teaching in African languages. So learners like Shoni are more likely to drop out of school and not finish matric. It's been found that when you learn in your first language, you learn better and faster, and you have increased self-confidence. You also develop better thinking skills, and your parents can help you because they're able to help you with homework. So Ambani is a learning platform for foundation phase learners that offers gamified content in your own mother tongue, which is in different African languages. We have two use cases. One is for teachers in the classroom and the other is for learners at home. But our focus, especially given the COVID context, has been on learners at home. We initially built a minimum viable product that was available for free in 4 different languages and that used augmented reality. But that really helped us, or the MVP really helped us understand our users a lot better and what it is they actually need. So we've now built a platform that allows them to practice in African languages, but be able to see that same content in English. The learning is curriculum aligned, so they're practicing in their own language what it is they're learning at school. We use game-based assessments to allow these learners to be able to measure their impact and how far along they are. And the learning is multimodal, so it means that you can learn through different mediums. So I'm going to play a quick video and I hope you will have sound. Just give me a thumbs up if you do. So our business model consists of 3 tiers, which are product sales, subscriptions, and partnerships. Product sales are sales of our augmented reality books or learning cards, and these start from as little as 25 Rand or $1.50, and this is directly to the customer. We have subscriptions, and this is our B2B model, and this is where schools and ECD centers can subscribe. But we found that our core target audience is only spending about 3% of their income on education. A bulk of their income goes towards consumer goods. We also found that fast-moving consumer goods in particular were better positioned to weather the COVID storm, especially when they're solving more than one problem for their customer. So we've established what we call brand partnerships. And this is where, through brands, we're able to co-create content in the app, or we're able to use everyday household packaging to activate some augmented reality learning in the app. So these are the 3 different aspects of our business model, which is the brand partnerships and school subscriptions, which are B2B model, and then direct to our user, the content is free. In terms of the market size, there are about 20,000 primary school and ECD institutions in South Africa. Of the 1.2 million learners that I spoke about who start grade 1 each new year, over 900,000 are African language, first language speakers. And the brands that are aligned to this market are already spending about 4.6 billion each year on advertising and sponsorship. In terms of our traction, we're a fairly new company, but we've been able to attract 3 distributors, over 200 paying customers, and over $100,000 in funding. In terms of the team behind this, we've got a myriad of experience, particularly in education, in gaming, and in finance and creative entrepreneurship. We have different experiences. I think one highlight is us being supported through the ShopRite Hustle Entrepreneur competition. So we are working to intensify our content and make the technology a lot more accessible. And one of the ways we're doing this is working on more languages, broader subjects, and more grades. So we want to be able to grow with our existing users. And I'll speak a little bit more about accessible technology. But just to give you an example, the top 7 languages spoken on the continent alone have about 240 million speakers. So obviously COVID came along, and it's really been, I beg your pardon, it's really been particularly hard for those who are already in the digital divide in our country and who are already on the poorer end. of the economy. And we found that in terms of mobile usage or the most active platforms in our country, WhatsApp is actually the most active. So our thinking has been around how do we use accessible technology in order to deliver some of the learning, especially in this context where a lot of the foundation phase learners are at home and not able to go to school. So the project we're trying to do is around WhatsApp learning. And this is where we're able to deliver daily content to our learners through WhatsApp, through an accessible technology for them, so that the learning continues. So WhatsApp learning is really about engaging young unemployed foundation phase tutors or teachers and utilizing the skills of creatives in order to empower the learners who need them the most. We want to create a 4-week pilot project that focuses on early reading and maths with 20 participants and 4 tutors. Our goal, as far as the teachers go, is to be able to establish some practices for online tutoring, especially through WhatsApp, and establish a tutor training framework. Our goal for the user is to be able to measure the impact of online learning. So to be able to say our users started here, and through this 4-week WhatsApp program, this is what they're now able to do, and to establish what really works in terms of delivering content, in terms of being able to send voice notes. So what are the systems through WhatsApp that really work for the style of teaching? As far as the technology goes, our goal for this pilot project is to be able to build the WhatsApp bot that will be delivering this daily learning to the user's WhatsApp, and to be able to create the different learning content. And this is where the creatives come in. So we'll be commissioning creatives to be able to create that content that we then send through WhatsApp. And our goal for the business is to be able to use this pilot as a proof of concept for our brand partnerships and for our mobile partnerships. So it's to be able to have something to take to brands that's measurable, and we're able to say this is the impact that we've been able to do through this pilot, so that they can then fund the project going forward. Just in terms of who we're working with, so in my other capacity, I have managed a project that was initiated called Creative Economies in Townships. And this is where we work with creatives who are township-based, who are entrepreneurs, who have creative skills such as video making, animation, audio engineering. And we work through organizations such as the What If Trust. So the idea is to be able to commission the content work to these creatives that we then deliver through WhatsApp. And in this WhatsApp exchange, then the tutors are able to exchange with the learners once the content is sent, and they're able to measure the learner's progress. In terms of the budget that we've submitted for this pilot project, a bulk of it is going towards that talent, which is the tutors and the content creation and the creation of the technology. The rest of it goes towards operational, financial, and legal, and recruiting some of our initial users for the pilot. Additionally, the content can continue to live on our app or on other streaming sites, and it can also be made available for educators for free. As I've said, there are limited resources for being able to teach in mother tongue, and the pilot will be done in isiZulu. Ultimately, our impact goal is to empower learners to improve their educational outcomes, and eventually we can narrow the achievement gap that's caused by inequality in education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I found this to be an amazing app.
Amazing.
And it clearly would be relevant probably across the world, but especially in Africa. I'm working on a project in Cote d'Ivoire, and I immediately asked if they knew about this because they're working on this problem of children getting to school. They come from, like South Africa, from many different languages, and they have all their classes are in French, and so they're behind to begin with, and most never catch up.
Never catch up, yeah.
Yeah. So it's clearly very needed. For your proposal, this is the first I understood that you want to do a pilot, and I wondered if I wrote down pilot study, and I think you maybe said that, but I didn't see any sort of design for how you're going to do that and what you're going to learn from it. And I wondered if you did have a design for doing that.
We do have a design. I didn't share it, but we do have a design that we've worked with our teacher, who's also the sort of the content lead. And so we usually design it between the teacher, who's the content lead, between our sort of developer, and between the two of them, we've designed how we would go about this. I think a lot of the pilot is also working out, or the intention of the pilot is also to work out if that design will work and how best we can implement something like this on a larger scale. So it's really an opportunity to practice, but to also be able to get measurable results so that when we do go to the brands we work with, we're able to say, this is what we've done with the limited sort of time that we had. And so this is how this can stretch further.
Right. So it would seem that there could be two kinds of goals. One would be learning goals. The other would be market goals.
Impact goals,
And which would you be going for as the primary goals? What's your primary business? Is it about learning, or is it about market reach? And
look, I think the market reach is necessary for sustainability.
Right.
But the primary goal is learning so that we can implement that into the bigger business. So I think regardless of whether the market goals are achieved or not, there is an existing business that then is able to use those that learning. So for us, it's more, how do we really, what are the right ways to impact our users?
Right. That's perfect. I mean, we see so much that attracts kids, but it doesn't enhance their learning. And so I like what you said. Okay, who else has questions? Kevin.
Okay, so I think your presentation was brilliant. I'm so excited with what you're doing. I'm just trying to understand the concept with WhatsApp, because obviously we've got prohibitive cost problems with any form of digital communication.
Yes.
So are you looking at sending information in voice notes? Is it a pictures type communication? Is it a typed communication? Are you looking at AI that corrects the information and sends it back? How is the back end managed? Because you can't necessarily have a teacher for each say 4 students. It's not sustainable in my mind as to how do you check the work, how do you test it, and how do you build forward?
So as far as the test goes, we're sort of using I think it's called a Butler system, where it's about being able to use the tutors to see how much needs to be done, and then building a further API based on the work that the tutors do. So how it would work is that it's not text-based, because we're working with really young learners who probably won't be able to type back. So it's mostly video, images, and voice notes. So the idea is that there are certain there's a set curriculum or a set of images or videos or voice notes that are sent for the day, and they have to respond to that. The response is then maintained by the tutor during this pilot phase. And based on all of that, then we're able to use what the tutors have done almost as AI. So we're able to use that to program the bot further.
And as a long-term project, are you looking for funding for the data as well, for the WhatsApp data for the kids? Because sending videos is a very expensive thing. I mean, if you're buying a 12 Rand recharge, it's only going to give you a few videos.
Yeah. So we are also in communication with mobile partners as well. So it's not just the brand partners that are sponsoring the content, but it's also working with mobile deliveries. So we're in contact with, or we've already started communication with some of them and their foundations to find out that once we've piloted this and we can present it to them, then they're able to see how to make that data free as part of, because there are a list of existing learning apps that all of the mobile operators have made data free. So it's about being able to prove that this has educational impact and qualifies.
Excellent.
Okay. Karen.
Questions, Kevin. So you're at basically your income. And look, I should have your budget up. Explain that to me more about how you sustain yourself. And I know you're asking us to fund this pilot project. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So how we sustain our, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
can you explain that? Yeah.
Okay, so how we sustain ourselves as a business currently is through the sales of augmented reality flashcards or books. So it's a set of flashcards or a set of posters. They're about 25 Rand. They work with entry-level smartphones. Once you've downloaded the app, then it works offline, so you don't need additional data. And so it's the sale of those products that have sustained us, and those start from as little as $1, and that's directly to the customer. But our other sort of bigger and how we actually plan to sustain ourselves is through being able to work with brands. So one initiative that we're doing is using everyday household products. So if you think of a box of cereal, it's being able to put augmented reality learning on that box of cereal so that when customers buy that, then they're able to go home and use that. But that is sort of the broader sustainability of the business and not necessarily the social part of it.
And the app is free?
Yeah. The app is free.
Okay. Other questions?
Very clever.
Bob, did you have questions?
No, I thought I was really impressed when I first read it. Enjoyed the video, and I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's certainly worth supporting to try to move forward and see how it works. I mean, it's a pilot, but it seems very good.
Boggy, did you have questions?
No, except just to say it's a very impressive initiative and it's extremely necessary. Now, whatever the questions and how you work it out, I just want to say it's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
And I know, we all know the education gaps that we face. Thank you.
We have a daughter that teaches in middle school in St. Joe, and they're going through, and the superintendent's done a very good job communicating with the community about how they're going to open this fall and the various venues. And so I think the whole wide world, we're trying to figure out how to educate kids in a time when they may or may not, they may start in school and have to go back home, and how it can be seamless as possible. So I think it's a time with a lot more questions than answers. And I think we have to pursue possibilities that seem to go.
It's a great solution.
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, did you have any questions?
Kevin has.
Just want to let you know we need to kind of wrap this portion up so we can have a short discussion.
Okay, I just wanted to make a statement that I think that your flashcards are so brilliant and it ties in so well with what Checkers has been trying to do, that you should probably look at trying to sell your flashcards as at that point of sale thing that they give away when you spend
Like
50 Rand or whatever. You get a flashcard, and I think that could be, even if they just pay you a couple of cents a card or whatever it is. I think that tying in with Checkers for me, or ShopRite, one of those brands, would be, because they're always looking for, and they're looking, right now they're no longer giving away plastic toys. They're looking to give seeds. They're looking to give. They did a whole thing with animals last year. So there's definitely, that for me would be your ideal long-term funding solution through an organization like Checkers.
Thank you. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So we'll move along here. Thank you so much. Very exciting.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great afternoon.
Very
Great,
creative.
you too.
Thank you.
Okay. So any additional information we need?
I like it.
Yeah. I'm a little concerned about the study because I'm not sure it's designed as a study. And if people are in favor, I'd like to ask for, she said they do have a design for the study, and I'd like to ask about that, because if they don't design it right, they're not going to get the information they need. But everything she said was spot on. So
yeah,
I'm not concerned about whether they know what they're doing. I think they do.
And if you look at the bios in her application.
Yeah, no, very impressive staff.
And very impressive people she's pulled together.
Right.
I think it's a good question, Anne. And
yeah, we can see what we
lots
got.
of experience with designing studies and research.
Great.
Go ahead, Sako. Okay, maybe she was just talking to somebody else. Okay, now I would like a bio break, and since I'm out here in our library, I have to run into the house. So, possible to get 5 minutes? Do we have? Okay, I might be back faster. We can see, but I've been drinking coffee and don't dare to drink another drop. All right.
Wiggle too.
That was so exciting. Sure.
We're ready on our side to go again when you are. Hello, just doing a sound check again. Okay, I think they're taking a short little break.
Okay. Can you?
I think they're just taking a...
Shame we decided to all take a break. So 5 minutes, we'll all be back with you.
Oh, great. We have Mofaleni.
Hi, Anne. How are you?
Good. You just missed a terrific project.
Yes, sorry, I wanted to apologize. I actually lost my grandmother, my mother's mother. She was buried this past day. So I'm actually home and yeah, so I was occupied with that. So yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that. Actually, I just wanted to let you know of that. That's the reason actually I wasn't able to attend.
Yeah. Well, this last one was for a pilot study for a preschool language app. It was fabulous.
Okay. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So how many more do we still have coming?
We have 5 more. So the next one
Okay.
is, I think Village.
I don't know if you guys are okay with me coming in and out, because I'm actually, there's even some noise here with kids.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually in my mother's house and I'll be
Okay.
in and out.
Okay, well, we'll join when you can,
Oh,
Jackson.
Yeah. You're going in and out.
Yeah.
If I don't vote at the end, but just love to keep joining, especially at the end with the discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, and there are good videos up as well as the proposals. So that you should be able to get the material. Basically, what we've been doing here is ask questions. Okay. So Sako, you want to introduce the next one?
Hi guys, I've got Portia here. She runs the Village Market. They have started a beekeeping project in Gauteng as well as in KZN, working with local and subsistence farmers, and have been able to, through the beekeeping project, help the farmers increase their yield, and thus are now able to start a separate market with the particular community that they work with. But let her get into her stuff. Let me not take all her good stuff from her presentation.
Good day, everyone. My name is Portia Murudi.
Hang on a minute. Can't hear Portia. Okay, could you guys hear Portia? She was fine? Okay, that's fine. Keep going, sorry.
In one moment, Portia, we'll give you 10 minutes and I'll let you know, okay?
Okay.
Yes, when Jamie starts waving, we know we've used up our time. So.
10 minutes.
I'm a co-founder of an organization called the Village Market Africa. Basically what we do is that we go into remote villages. Sorry, I'm getting quite a lot of food. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys, we've just got a problem with the Portia's sound.
We were able to hear her.
Yeah, she was getting a lot of other feed in her earphones. Just give us just 2
Sorry,
seconds.
what? And Sako,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to switch off your mic, because what's
Let me
happening
do
is that
that.
it's round tripping. So you're in the same room, so you're getting feedbacks.
Kevin, we're glad you know how to spot the problem and the solution.
I've been there, unfortunately.
By the way, her video is wonderful. I just felt I was there walking through the gardens, and it was wonderful.
Me too. Now we can't hear.
Now we can't hear at all.
Let's try again.
Hello? Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Here now.
Awesome. We started an organization called the Village Market Africa. And this was done after we had found out that bee populations are actually declining. And having grown up in a rural community, there was sort of a disconnect for us, because one of the reasons bee populations are declining, it's mainly because of losing their natural habitat. So having grown up in a rural community and seeing all the natural resources that we had, it just didn't make sense that we had the ideal land for bees to thrive, and we were not doing anything about it. Instead, we were also part of the problem, as we were killing these bees as we perceived them to be pests. mostly due to lack of knowledge. So when we set up our village market, the intention was to say, bring on rural villages, train them in beekeeping, using the land that they have, and then at the end of it, we buy back the produce. And where we are supposed to supplement the crops, we actually provide them with seeds and seedlings so that they can plant more foraging for these bees. And then we buy back that produce. So as a result, we're able to save the bees. Not only that, our communities sort of have an income coming in on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Thank you. So questions. Kevin and Jackson, the video is excellent and takes us on the farm if you want to see more about what they're doing.
Really wonderful. How many villages are you reaching out to?
Currently, we have 9 community beneficiaries, and we're working in South Africa, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe.
One thing that was missing from your proposal were obstacles. I wonder if you could say a bit about that.
So the biggest obstacle that we've had to come across, I think, was sensitizing communities around bee farming and the importance. So a whole lot of us still perceive them to be as pests. So that mind shift was the main thing that we really struggled with. So in Winterveld, what we would normally do is that we would approach citrus farmers to say, can you host hives? And most of these farmers initially just outright declined that request, obviously because they're thinking our workers still going to be able to work on our farms with bees around because they're considered to be pests. So mainly that education has taken longer in some areas, and in some communities it was easily embraced. And funding, because most of our initiative was funded between myself and my husband through his work income. Just trying to provide those implements to communities, because then we would then provide them with the hives. At some point, we were taking hives that we started with just so that, because we saw potential in some of these communities, and we would take our own hives from our own business to say, in this area, we will just give them out because we realized that there was huge potential and impact that would be achieved. And one of those projects was the blind people, because we also trained blind people in beekeeping in an area called Garangua. What happened in Garangua is that they established a school for blind people. So most of families that had relatives that were blind settled around the area. But there's a lot of old people, most of them blind and no jobs and nothing for them to do. So when we started training, we didn't have any funding. So we ended up taking what we had from our farm over to them so that we can kickstart that project.
I also didn't see a project budget or a sustainability plan. Could you say a little bit about, how the funding from us would help you become sustainable?
Yes, ma'am. We had identified a number of sites that could be ideal for hosting bees, for them to thrive and empowering those communities. So normally to set up a startup bee project, you're looking at about 120,000. This is for a small project where we train the community in making the hives and hive inspections and extraction of the honey. So normally to kickstart a project, we start with 120,000, and then we have our own personal farm. So the main apiary that is in Winterveld, we have our own monthly costs, which run to about 111,000. We have about 10 employees, all full-time employed, mostly youth. So we have to pay their salaries and maintain our own farming initiative. Sustainability, we recently, about, I think it was end of year, we set up our own market. Initially, sorry, apologies. We set up our own store. Initially, we used to do deliveries to different households or to different businesses. But what we found is that it would be easier if we had our own space where people would then come buy. So communities would bring their produce and we would sell from that space. So in terms of sustainability, we are selling a lot of honey at the moment and fresh produce from the communities that we're buying back from the community. So that keeps us going.
Okay. And I think we will need to see that budget in writing. Other questions?
Just an observation. In your video, I thought it was very interesting with villages where the elephants are coming in and destroying things in the village, but they don't like bees. So that is a win-win.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was over on the border with Mozambique, is that correct? It's not in Winterveld?
Yes, ma'am. That's in a village called Gazini. So it's right on the border of Mozambique and South Africa, so not KZN. Elephants migrating would normally cross the Mozambique border and start damaging the crops and the huts in this village. So sometimes getting a buy-in from the communities, it's really not about what we bring to them. So in this village, it was more, what problem do you have? And the main problem was these elephants damaging their crops. And when we did a study from Dr. Lucy King in Kenya, we found out that they had a similar problem, and they were preventing this through using bees, setting up bee fences along the communities. So we followed the same model, put up a bee fence. The first bee fence was done in 2016, and they haven't had elephants getting into the village since then. And they've now set up an agricultural project, which we're now setting up a 2-kilometer bee fence around this project. And they haven't had struggles with elephants, which had happened before.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Other questions? Kevin?
No, I'm just fascinated. What is a bee fence?
Yeah, describe it.
Okay. So a bee fence is literally a fence that has beehives in between. So we would hang every 10 meters, you'd have a hive. And it's got a trigger point. When an elephant approaches, it gets to the trigger fence first, which then makes the hives swing violently. That brings out the bees, and then the elephants would retreat. So that saves the elephants, the humans, and the bees, because then the communities take out the honey, and then we buy it from them. And the elephants are kept out safe, and the bees have a natural environment where they can thrive.
So are you using like a Langstrom hive, or are you designed your own hives? So you're using the Kenyan drop hive?
So with Dr. Lucy King's model, they were using the Kenyan top bar hive, but we've modified it to use the Langstroth hive so that the honey production can be maximum with very minimal damage to the honeycombs when the honey is extracted. Yep. So we've done the same defense, but added stands because as the hives get heavy, then sometimes the fence collapses. So we're using a Langstroth hive.
Other questions?
I just have a comment that I was very impressed by your passion for leaving your career and establishing this village market. It's an extraordinary personal story and journey.
Thank you so much.
And we love our bees, and we want to protect them and keep them going. They're so important.
True.
Yeah, it's a great double bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Triple bottom line.
We're doing it for future generations as well, because we understand to have been Einstein that said without them, mankind would have only 4 years of life left because of lack of food. So I'd love my children to inherit an earth that's worth living in. So that's part of my motivation.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we doing on time, Jamie?
Thank you.
It's
Excellent.
time?
Yeah, it's time to move on.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Excellent project. And we'll lay out the specific questions that we need more information on. But excellent project.
Thank you.
Great.
Wait, Kevin.
Can I just make one point? Your website that you linked to us has got a squatter on it. So so the thing is that it's going to be cheaper for you rather than rebuying that name. I had a look to see that the villagemarket.co.za is available, and it's going to cost you 80 Rand rather than paying thousands of rands to whoever's squatting on your existing site. So it may be worthwhile just looking at that and grabbing that name quickly, because it's such a good name. I'm amazed that it hasn't gone.
Yeah.
Thank you. We actually had a website, but it just went down for some reason. We will have to follow up on that.
Yeah, no, because it says that the site is for sale, which tells me that there's a squatter, that somebody's taken over the website, and it's going to be literally, it's going to be cheaper and quicker for you to build a new website and buy
and just abandon it. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You should grab the. It's the domain name that's available.
Yeah, the villagemarket.co.za. It's on GoDaddy.com.
Yeah, on GoDaddy.
And it's 80 Rand. I mean, it's for the first year.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely do that.
Okay.
Kevin, great idea.
Thank you so much, Portia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And thank you, Kevin. Okay.
And there was a sound problem.
There was a sound problem.
Yeah, there's a sound problem. I don't know.
Yeah, do you know what that was?
Nsako there, I don't know if you know what the problem is. There was an echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of her present, only at the end.
Yeah.
So Sako's muted.
Yes. You can see.
No, I'm saying we'll figure it out. We're about to change over with Thugs of Comedy. We'll just resolve that so that it doesn't make a problem again.
Great.
Okay,
Give us
terrific.
5 minutes. We'll chat while you resolve that, and then we'll move on to Thugs of Comedy.
All right, we'll be ready in 5.
So we can hear them. So did others notice that it was like part of the application was missing? They didn't, from obstacles on, they didn't have a sustainability statement, project budget, implementation plan, and I think we need that.
Yeah,
I think it's an excellent project. The video was great.
I agree.
This was what was really different from this video than all the others is that we were on site. The video was used to actually be on site, which was great.
Her husband was there, and also her baby.
Child. Yeah.
Her child, so cute.
Yeah. No, it was great.
I look forward to watching it.
Yeah,
you should watch it.
And Sako did a great job of of getting all the videos up.
Yes.
Really. There was one, I never could see the flat line. I could do 9 seconds and that was it. But the rest of them were really helpful.
Yeah, and on the one last night, I panicked and texted Jamie. I said, one of these, several of videos, I kept getting feedback, like their voices repeating each other over and over. And I was able to correct it except for one video, which I never really could see.
You might have had it open twice or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I've
done that before with like YouTube things. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's what the problem was.
Jamie, when we're questioning or coming up with questions back to Village Market, as I've kind of read their grant application, it suggests that really they're looking for working capital and then the seedling banks. And it would be nice to have them explain that a little better and maybe put that in the budget, because they had a couple budget things there that didn't seem to answer those questions. But I understand the need for it to kind of ramp that up and do that, but they should kind of break that down a little bit as to how they're going to do it. I think I'm sure 5,000 US would help a lot with that, but they didn't really explain exactly what they're going to use it for.
Yeah. Okay.
I think with this one, we just really need them to go back over their application and beef it up significantly.
Fill in the
and make it complete. Yeah.
And I had noticed that earlier and sent it back a couple of times and kept getting the same thing back. So at some point we had to just, I'm not sure they were understanding what I was asking for when I was saying project budget.
Yeah. Bongi, did you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'm in agreement that it's incomplete.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
What do we do about if they're not an NGO or we have a way to...
And that's a common problem in South Africa. And what we've been doing is if they don't, they run it through Insako's nonprofit.
Okay.
And
good.
You know, every country has different laws, and South Africa seems to be the worst on having very expensive, lengthy processes that you have to do separately for every kind of thing. And so if we, you know, we're basically taking the burden then of trusting that this will qualify. So we do have to keep on the social benefit question. You know, this one I think is very
clearly social benefit. Yeah.
But we'll have to go through that. That's a good thing about having 2 lawyers involved with us, and Jamie
right.
and Bob. They make sure we're legal here. Yeah.
But those lawyers do come in handy every now and then.
Every now and then, right.
One quick statement about Ambiani, the one that was before Village Market.
Yeah.
One of the other positives about that one is I think we can legitimately classify that one as fully as a COVID grant, because they're using the WhatsApp platform because of the COVID outbreak. Because
right. I think so too.
So that puts it in that other column.
It would be amazing. I mean, believe me, I'm involved with other projects. There's a big project based in the US called Global Ties that has been investing in this exact problem. And when I heard it, I thought, of course, this is the solution. And so it's really quite brilliant to think of it.
Jamie, one thing, your volume seems lower than everybody else's.
I'll turn it up.
Yeah. And maybe my hearing's going too, so they have a dual issue.
On my end. I'll talk louder and make sure.
Yeah. So it looks like we may have the
we have a next group.
We're
Comedy Association, ACCA, previously known as Thugs of Comedy, ready to talk with us. And this is a proposal for a second grant. We last year gave them funding.
And they would like to do a mic check very quickly.
Okay, they're doing a mic check. Okay.
Sako, if you could hear me.
Thanks, Jamie. So when I'm talking,
we hear an echo.
Echo.
You hear the echo.
Yes.
Okay, you need.
Okay, what
there
happens
we
now
go.
when I'm talking?
Now
Better.
it's okay.
Better.
It's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
let them talk.
Open headphones, I think.
She may be going to get a headset, but they're all muted.
Okay, unmute. Okay, I've unmuted.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Welcome.
Terrific. Well, welcome. It's good to see you all again.
Thank
Jamie
you.
and I were there last year, and this year, with the benefit of Zoom, we have other members of the board. Bangi Makabela is on video. She's South African, but a member of the full board. And Bob Judd and Karen Stone. And then another member of the African Country Committee is Molafeni Markala, whom I prefer to call Jackson because I always say it wrong.
I was there last year, yes.
And Kevin Friedman, who's a good friend of ours in South Africa. So we're the group. Jamie's our timekeeper. She'll tell us when you've used up your 10-minute of presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A for about the same amount of time.
Awesome.
So over to you, unless Saka wants to say something first.
I know you can go.
Okay.
Is it possible to put it on the normal sound, just so that my friends could also hear, or is it better if I'm listening with the earphones? Just the technical. I mean, because they can't hear, is it possible?
Yeah, that works. There's
okay.
no feedback. It's okay.
All right. I'm not hearing anything now.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
And then volume. Okay. Volume wise, is it at the highest?
Okay.
Just a technical. There's it. Perfect. There's it.
But we lost video.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'm gonna come back just now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry about that technical. You can hear me all? Awesome.
Yes.
So, okay. Thugs of Comedy, we're also known as African Comedy Creative Agency, ACCA. We are grantees from last year. We produce marketing videos for small businesses, more especially in the townships. And this is also especially for online marketing. We've grown because we introduce our clients on a weekly basis to each other. For example, our first client, they were selling ginger beer, and we did an ad for them. And then my second client, Mwari Pizza, she was selling pizza at a pizza house. And then the ginger beer guy met Mwari Pizza, and they started selling ginger beer at her pizza house. So every week we introduce the clients together. And so we've consolidated the videos and the weekly meetings into what we call an impact studio. Now, an impact studio it offers online video production, like I've mentioned, weekly meet and greet for our clients and other small businesses in the community, and unlimited Wi-Fi so that the businesses can plug in as well. So we've grown. We've seen ourselves planning and wanting to have 20 impact studios in 20 key townships. So we're really passionate about the impact that the micro enterprise community is having in the township, because they're always engaging with the problems, and they've already sort of thought through some of the practical solutions. Because to start a business in the township, you don't just think about, oh, let me see how I can make a profit. You have to really think about the culture of the township, which is more than just profit, and it has to do with about mutually benefiting each other in that community. So yeah, I think that's the idea. That's how we've grown, and now we are looking forward to sort of partnering with GPA has sort of taught us to think about partnership in terms of optimizing our impact. So I focus on videos, and then we bring them together, but then there's someone that we met who helps them develop. So business development has become another feature of the Impact Studio. So micro enterprises who don't have their paperwork together, Amanda, she sorts them out in terms of writing proposals, getting all their ducks in a row. And also starting to think about how can we lobby together as a collective as well, so that we can grow together. Collaboration is very important to us, and seek to optimize our impact in those communities and growing together. That's the direction we see ourselves taking. So yeah, in terms of sustainability, I'll be honest, the videos have been able to help the organization sustain itself. By the way, we're a collective of independent micro enterprises. So he has his own business. I'm Thugs of Comedy, that's more Pizza, but together as Thugs of Comedy, we work towards projects that benefit all of us. So yeah, the videos have really worked for us. We've done campaigns for the Joburg Theatre. We've done some campaigns for other sort of organizations that seek to make an impact in the way they do. So we help them tell their story in a very short form and achieve their objectives as well. And then in terms of moving forward, I've noticed that we had to think about ways of generating income, specifically when we don't have a project to work on. So the Wi-Fi subscription model seems to be something that's viable, in that not everybody has access to Wi-Fi in the township community. And so setting it up and making a subscription for the micro enterprises, that will also assist in sustaining the project. I don't know if I missed anything out. Do you want to add one or two things? Yeah.
Okay. So we are very, very solution-based. So in the township, you'll find that it's been termed as something that's a weakness. So we've actually come together as independent contractors for one core vision, which is to collaborate and to really push the micro enterprises, because the one thing that's left for us, we think it's the township economy. So we are highly fostering the rent to circulate in the township, micro enterprises to just sustain itself and thrive. So we really believe their success is our success. So that's how Meet and Greet came about, where people with ideas, people with businesses can come in one space. We work towards one thing, whether it's a project, whether it's business to business transaction, whether it's collaboration. So really, really, Thugs of Comedy has helped us, myself a lot, has helped the pizza place a lot. So we're looking to do more, because we believe the township is a place of thriving. The township is a place where great minds are found. So yeah, no matter how the township has been viewed, but great minds are found there, and the township economy shall boom.
You want to add anything? For now, that's our story. I don't know if we covered everything, but yeah, we can take questions.
A quick one, Anne. Hi, Chairman, a quick one. I just wanted to understand, are they collaborating as GPA grantees as well? Or are we seeing a group of our grantees coming together? If you could just help me understand that.
So we as Thugs of Comedy received our first grant from GPA last year. So this is now our second grant. But what we've done as well, just with GPA in terms of collaboration, is we've produced the videos for the people who are applying this year. we produced those videos. So we are the grantees as a collective, last year's grantees.
Okay, I was just curious in seeing your growth. Yes, I'm seeing your growth from where you were last year when we saw you and where you are today.
Sure. Thank you so much. Because I must be honest, I don't really always notice the growth. It happens incrementally every single week, and I think that's important. A lot of times we go into a community for short periods of time. So being able to stay in that community on a weekly basis, I've been able to establish relationships and see the growth happen on a weekly basis. And that really has created some sort of rhythm and fast track the impact. Because now we have people coming from far to our weekly meet and greets that we didn't really invite. The word is spreading. They're starting to get to know that there's that hub that's happening.
Hi, I have a question. Can I comment, Jamie? Sorry.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, it's good to see you again, and I agree with Sis Bongile that there's been improvement from the previous year. I look forward to seeing those videos again. So my question is more on whether you guys had any obstacles during the first round or the first phase of your project as Thugs of Comedy that was funded, and whether you've identified means to counteract potential risks going forward. And secondly, you having individual companies, but combining efforts towards the GPA funded, pitch that you have, how much investment do you individually give into this relative to the overall companies you have? And finally, maybe which townships, you mentioned 20 townships, is it something concentrated in one area, for instance, Joburg, or is it across South Africa? What areas are you targeting?
So the main obstacle we've seen from last year is a lot of businesses were not compliant. A lot of businesses lacked the financial understanding, and there was a common thread between all the businesses we would meet every week, whereby you'd see that this one doesn't have documents, this one doesn't have their financial in order. So how to consider that we got someone who has experience in that field to just consolidate for all the businesses that are in the network at a reduced fee. So you'll find that there are consultants who charge exorbitant money for small businesses. So we found someone who gets the vision that we are still micro enterprises with an intention to grow. So he's come in and helped us to just those nitty-gritties, the business nitty-gritties of compliance, finance. He helps to consolidate that so that when opportunities come, we are ready, because that's the one thing that's been common in all the businesses. So I feel like that was the major obstacle. We've managed with these meetings, we've managed to consolidate.
Yeah, I think one of the solutions as well was playing to our strengths as a collective, as Thugs of Comedy, but also in terms of like the other businesses.
I can't hear.
Can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Louder.
Yeah.
Is it okay? So I was just responding to the solutions question, where adding on to what Nati has said, we found that playing on our strengths actually works for the betterment of the group. So as Thugs of Comedy, they provide solutions of online marketing, the videos, etc. But as an establishment myself, as Model Pizza, I would propose a place that people know where to go to when the meetings happen, and also providing online support. So we would also individually in our personal capacities market sort of the meetings, the business itself, and the idea of working together as a collaborative effort. So I think the solutions are there within the people, and I think that's the spirit that is being driven by the people. And I think that's the spirit that come as you are, provide the solutions. The solutions are not out there, but instead within the collective.
To be honest with you, one of the problems that we faced as well is how do we
louder?
Louder.
One of the problems we faced as well was how do we Can you hear me? Oh, I see. Oh, not using the mic. Oh, okay. Sorry. So one of the challenges that we faced is how do we create a sort of operating income, right? Because we have long-term visions, but then how do we create short-term sort of goals and that help sustain the project? So what we've done is we've really been able to be resourceful in identifying certain technical solutions. Like I found a software where I'm able to download free footage for free, put that together so I can produce faster more videos faster at a higher quality. So that's been able to be one of the solutions that we found. In terms of the effort, I'm surprised how much attention and effort that they each put into the project, because I've been looking for partners, and most of the time, obviously, they had their own issues and own projects to focus on. So I don't know why, but every week, they're the ones that follow up with me and say, have you made your calls for the new clients this week? Are you ready to do the pitch? Have you followed up with that person on the video? So I'm surprised. I don't know why that's the case, but the sort of collaboration has almost added a group focus that makes it easier for each of us to focus on independent.
Yeah, and really the core business of shooting videos, because there's a lot of transition between traditional marketing and digital marketing. So we've positioned ourselves into the digital marketing where we provide those videos for these small businesses to use as ads. So that gives us that competitive advantage in terms of we use humor to do that. And it has really proven to bring numbers in terms of how those ads perform and how customers get to interact with those brands, and the sales, it translates into more sales for them, because we have a few testimonies from where we started to now. Some companies have grown and they've brought more. So that gives us a longevity range whereby we can get more clients, the multiplier effect.
So tell us how a second grant from us would make you sustainable.
All right. And I think it ties into what I was going to say as well. In terms of during COVID, what we found is that people started realizing the need for online video presence, right? And so I had to find ways to make faster video, to make videos faster. And the sort of technical or technological solutions that are available is where the second grant will really, really help us be more sustainable. So it will help us buy equipment and also subscribe to certain softwares that will allow us to produce more videos faster and at a higher quality and easier. So we'll then be able to have a conversation about training other people to be able to use this software, so that even if they're not highly skilled in video production, they'll still be able to produce high quality videos and perhaps even spin off and have their own little agencies in their communities. So the equipment that is out there and available is really gonna have that 10x effect that I didn't see, I must be honest. I thought that we could just make it with a few cameras, a few phones that we use as cameras and an editing software. But with the kind of equipment that's available out there, I think that's where most of the second grant would go to. And also a Wi-Fi connection that's unlimited. A lot of the times, because of COVID regulations, we're unable to connect physically. So we have to do these Zoom meetings quite often, and then somebody doesn't have data for a Zoom meeting, or we don't have a connection here or there. So it would also go to having a subscription so that we can be able to do our weekly meet and greets over the internet if we're on that level in terms of COVID.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Kevin, and then Bob.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm trying to understand is how many of these meet and greet centers do you have, and how are they placed? And if you're giving people free Wi-Fi, especially now with COVID, with social distancing, how are you putting into place options that they can still access the Wi-Fi but in a socially distanced environment?
Okay, so the first one has been going on for about a year now on a weekly basis, and that's at Moari Pizza House. It's in Kwatema, which is about an hour from Joburg CBD. That's the one where we failed and learned that these are the key sort of lessons to then look at going into other communities and start expanding. Just to answer one question in answering this, we've identified 20 key townships that are sort of just outside an industrial area, so that we know that if we can impact that community, they'll be able to still travel just a little bit so that they can access resources, and then it'll have an impact in their surrounding townships as well. So we're not exclusively aiming at those 20, but those 20 would be key, because we know if we can impact those 20, they'll be linked with that CBD or industrial area next to them. So in terms of the COVID, that has been a challenge, and we've just literally had to have your regular, I don't know how you guys did it with the sanitizing at the entrance, etc., and regulating how many people enter the space. I think you'd have to just be compliant and be aware of that. But what we found is that in the township community, there is a problem if we can develop a connection with the businesses in that community, they will be able to actually stay in that community instead of having to crisscross. So it's like a catch-22. If we can get them to the hub, but in a way that complies and keeps everybody safe, so no more than 50 people or so in that particular meeting, which we haven't had. We usually have about 15. But then they'll be able to work in that community and do much more if they have that digital sort of interface, instead of having to come all the way to Joburg to do this and that. I don't know if I missed one of the questions.
Did he hit all your questions, Kevin?
I think so.
Okay.
Bob, why don't we end with your question?
Okay, putting on my lawyer's hat, as you alluded to at the beginning, understanding a little better now that you're sort of a collective organization, I think, Jamie, we need to work with them and get a little bit of idea about that structure as to where the grant is going and how you're allocating it between your collective, and then sort of the same thing from the budget standpoint. It doesn't have to be down to the last rand, but I think we need to understand how that goes from wearing a grant making understanding as to where those funds are going and how you're spreading it out. And I realize it may be fluid, but if you give us a little structure on your collective, perhaps that'll help us sort through it.
Yeah, I think it is challenging because we haven't found the ideal, like, what can I say, entity to register as, right? We're still trying to figure out how should we go about this. But I am the director of Thugs of Comedy, and I focus on the video production, right? Yep. And then Nati is the director of Msindo Innovation Hub. He focuses on the meet and greets, which is in terms of making sure that they're running the admin behind that, keeping records of the data flow, and in collaboration with Moari Pizza House, which hosts us physically and provides the food that we need when we do our meetings. So that's the sort of functions. I'm not sure that we've delegated each other roles. We sort of overlap, like when I have a production, I'd call maybe Tsepi to do a little bit of writing, you to do a little bit of acting, but in terms of direction, I'm the director of the Thugs of Comedy video production.
So what I'm hearing you say then is that the funds flow through you and, yes, and their expenses then for you as they're doing parts of the project.
Yes.
So maybe if you can kind of roughly lay out what you anticipate the budget to be, to spread it out, that'll satisfy me.
Okay.
Okay, I think we need to move on. I know
Kevin,
we're behind. You had something urgent, Karen and Kevin?
Yes.
Not me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What I wanted to say was that I'm thinking through your business structure there. And today you can get the most amazing internet boxes that you'd put on the roof of the building, and can take up to 1,500 logins. And these things are not expensive. And you can structure it in such a way that you can actually sell. So you can have your people who subscribe. So that's your thing. And then you can actually put in a pay-per-use option. So you can create a Wi-Fi hotspot for the area so that the entire neighborhood can have access up to 1,500 users at any one time on the Wi-Fi. So I think that might be something that you could look into to create something that could value add in the area and help with the process.
Thanks. I'm seeing smiles, so we'll have to get your information.
It's a good idea.
We've been struggling to find the solution. Like, we're using traditional channels and they're expensive, and we have to fight for a credit score and this and that. So this is part of the solution, definitely.
Yeah, sounds great.
And you need one for the house.
Right. Well, we've got them, but yeah, because we're in the sticks here, it's.
Can I tell you something I forgot? Something very important, right? Which is before COVID, we wanted to build a container and transform it into a physical hub that has a signature. And this was important because we feel like that fits the aesthetics of the communities that we're in, right? So make it look cool, but make it look part of the community as well. So each of the enterprises that we work with made a commitment to contribute to the building and transforming of this container. But then because COVID hit, there was a delay in sort of the finances that they could commit to this project. And so part of the budget will help in terms of delayed invoices because of COVID. Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think we need to move along here as we've gotten ourselves behind. So thank you very much. We really appreciate all you're doing in your organization.
Nice to meet you.
For so many organizations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Good luck, and then with COVID especially.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, guys, thank you.
So we have the next one lined up. It's Lead Africa Foundation.
So we're not going to discuss this. We don't have time.
Guys.
Well, is there more that you want to discuss? I think we need to clarify some things in the budget, but
yeah, but otherwise
it's
okay.
To go.
We're ready with the next group when you are.
Okay. Did you have something you wanted to say, Jackson?
I think they were a good investment from what I saw.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse. You'll stop talking. Wait. I must mute myself.
So, Sako, question: Did ACCA play a role in creating the videos for
they made them all.
They made them all. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so
they
have
so
done
their
a
output
lot.
is really good.
They've been a partner with Sako on so much.
They have, and what they've also done as they've met more of the grantees is also offer their services. So beyond just doing the videos for GPA, they also then were able to just do the videos for the grantees in terms of their own marketing. The Village Market we've just had, they've just contracted with them to help them create a social media a presence for the project.
Oh, that's great.
So they build their business by doing good, being a good partner.
Yeah.
No, they're really great partners, and I think that what perhaps because at the end it just sounds like there's a whole lot of people working, but I think these partnerships have helped Jerry get businesses to flow to him and stay with him. So the hubs and all of that is just a way to make sure that the monthly contracts that he has to make videos for people are sustained in that way. I think it's more of a method, but he doesn't quite see it as clearly as what I see it. He thinks he's just making friends with them.
Yeah, right.
I think it's a great model.
Yeah, it's a great model. Okay, so next we have Lead Africa coming up.
Yes, we're ready with that.
She's just taking her seat.
And I think this name is with a click, so I won't even try it.
I dare you. Khomotso actually drove 6 hours from KZN to come. They work all over the country, but she wanted to make the effort to come and meet. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So we're getting an echo now.
Okay. It should be on your feed now. Yes.
So we welcome you to this pitch session for Global Philanthropy Alliance. I'm Ann Peterson, and we have with us from the board, and I'm going to go through my screen in reverse order this time, Bongi Makabela, Jackson Markalala are from South Africa. Bongi is on the main GPA board. Karen Stone, Bob Judd, Kevin Friedman is a partner friend in South Africa, and Jamie Brooks is the executive director. So welcome. You have 10 minutes for your presentation. Jamie is the timekeeper. When she starts waving her hands, you know you're done.
All right.
And she'll do the same thing to all of us with our Q&A following that, another 10 minutes.
All right.
And tell
wonderful.
us your name, because I'm terrible at pronouncing Zulu names. So.
All right. So this is Tswana. It's a Tswana name. The name is Khomotso Buthelezi. So I'm actually married to a Zulu man, which is why it is Khomotso Buthelezi. I'm an all-round South African. I am the director of an organization called the Lead Africa Foundation. What we do is we travel around the country, and we are contracted by our clients to take footage of cultural and traditional ceremonies that take place. And that's basically how we make our money. The long-term vision, actually, it was always to create a digital repository. So we found that in Africa, we've always had our stories told by third parties. And we thought it was the time, seeing as young people, we have access to technology as well as resources to actually start taking or telling our own stories. So that's what our organization does. But in order for us to do that, I've been in business for quite some time. So when I started this organization, the point of starting it was that it needed to be sustainable. So not only is it a foundation, but it needs to be a social enterprise. So the business needs to be able to make money, and then of course be able to achieve its long-term vision of creating a digital repository which houses indigenous knowledge of our country. We've got 11 official languages, and culture evolves, tradition evolves. And we found that we looked at countries such as Rome, countries basically that have a lot of tourism. And we found that a lot of the tourism actually happens around their history and their indigenous knowledge, and people are attracted to the stories that are told. And we found that, as much as it happens in South Africa as well, but we don't think it actually happens as much as it should. So people still have a very backward image of what Africa is all about, or what Africa is. They don't actually see, they're not actually exposed to the richness of our culture, and how the culture has evolved, and how things are changing. And basically a lot of the work that we do focuses on taking footage of the modern culture, because indeed things are changing. Our group has, it's actually in collaboration with 5 members. 4 of them are under the age of 35, and 1 is over the age of 35. So we have our videographer and photographer. He's the one who's over the age of 35, and then everybody else is still under 35. So we've got a graphic designer, we've got a lady who focuses on social media and digital marketing, and then I do the brand and the project management, and then we've got a lady who does our administration. Yeah, so that's the entire team. I think what we love most about the work that we do is that we get the opportunity to travel around our country, showcase it, give value to our clients, and of course have an agreement with the clientele that we service to take this footage and put it in a digital repository, which means that it's archived and it will be there forever, literally. So yeah, that's who we are.
Great, thank you. One of my questions was about the intellectual property rights of people who let you video their
Yes.
ceremonies. So, do you get a legal agreement, or how
Yes,
do
we
you
do.
arrange that?
Oh, yes, we do. So when our clients, when we take footage from our clients, we actually ask them to fill out a form that gives us the right to archive the work that we do for them, and of course showcase it on any of our platforms. We actually haven't had an issue. All of our clients have agreed in the past. So perhaps in future we might have people that would not like that to happen, and that would still be fine. But once they understand the project in its entirety and what we do, because
I'm
it's also
offline.
a value add for them to
I'm
have.
offline, I don't know.
It's a value add for them to have. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes. For them to have their work archived in our digital repositories.
Okay, thank you. I know this is a big issue too. I remember when I was with the Kellogg Foundation and we funded, and I think it's Peter, and I can't remember if it's Magubani or a famous photographer, South African photographer, who was really trying to take photos of all the traditional dress and ceremonies, but digital is obviously much better because that's the real life version of it. So I understand the need, and I think it's great that you're doing it. What do you do about the history? How do you, because that's part of what has gotten
Yes, it
lost.
is.
But yeah, do you have a deliberate focus on also trying to capture some of the traditional sites,
I'm
ceremonies,
offline
things like
here,
that?
but not there.
Yes, yes, actually we do. So there are a couple of people that we
I don't know.
work with, that we consult with, that work in that space, and we found that the history that or the kind of information that we're looking for is sort of available, but what we're actually trying to archive, it is the stories that aren't told. So for example, I'll give you an example about the Buthelezi clan. I've got an understanding of the Buthelezi clan in terms of historically how it all unfolds. It was important for me to understand it as I got married into the family. But then I found that there's a lot of information that most people don't know. Like for example, we are Obuthelezi, or Sogwalisa, or Nqengelele, or Phungashe, and a lot of the time who those people are, it's information that is not available, it's not captured. So for us, I think the most important is for us to capture that information, the oral history. We'd like to digitize the oral history because that's what actually gets lost in time.
That's right.
Great. Okay, other questions?
Can I ask about your personal motivation and why did you decide this was important, and describe that?
All right. So as I said, I'm born. My dad is Tswana. My mother is Xhosa. I'm married to a Zulu man, and I try my best to speak as many South African languages as possible. And personally, I love culture. I love culture. I love who I am. I love my country, and again, looking at it from a business perspective, more than that, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to always look for solutions in terms of, all right, like right now with COVID-19, our tourism industry has been wiped out, literally, and to try and build it up, it would be very nice to actually paint a different picture, or the true picture of what our country is about and what it has to offer. I think my personal motivation again would be the fact that I hate reading stories or hearing people ask really awkward questions about Africa. Like I'm from South Africa, and they'll ask you stupid question. Well, what I think are kind of ignorant questions, to put it politically correct. Some ignorant questions, and you kind of want to give people an idea of really what is it that they can expect when they come into our country. And I think it's tragic for people not to know just how modern of a society South Africa is. I mean, you look at us. If I'm speaking anyway, people wouldn't actually even, they can't pinpoint exactly where it is that I'm coming from. So there are a lot of people like myself, a lot of young people that are exposed and that have great ideas. And I think once the international community has a reference point, such as the digital repository that we're building, then they can have a better understanding of who we are.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Jackson.
How do you get? Oh, here we go.
Hi, Khomotso. Thanks for the presentation. So first, I'm a good fan of rewriting history. In fact, one disclaimer is that I'm very, very interested in history, particularly in the role of women leaders in Zulu.
I need to meet you.
So in particular, in fact, now you're at Buthelezi, I'm interested in Princess Makoko Katini Zulu, was married to Matolete.
Yes, the musician.
I realized from in an academic space, there's no real source. If one wants to do research, there are women like Mkabayi that we don't really get to know what they did, except when we watch Shaka Zulu movies, which are not really true representation of the reality on the ground. So I really appreciate those efforts, but I want to see whether you make it available. Your target market, for example, people can access such deposited knowledge in your repositories, and as to whether this is linked to anyone who is studying and wanting to access that material for research. Are you stretching to that level?
Yes. When we actually started when we started with the project, what actually took my interest, it was in the indigenous knowledge systems as a whole. So my research told me that in South Africa, for example, we had the first indigenous knowledge system graduates in 2017. So this was the first time ever that we had people that were studying indigenous knowledge systems in South Africa. And when I followed their stories, a couple of them, I found that they actually, the market is not in need of what they've studied. So which is a bit tragic. There are some centers that we are in communication with, like for example in KZN there is there's the museum that we've spoken to, and they've got some archives that they are willing to share with us, obviously ensuring that we mention them as our sources, as well as other people that have studied indigenous knowledge systems. And so looking at it from an academic perspective, I think we would like to grow. It is part of the plan in terms of growth, because when we started this project, we started it really from it was a very small idea, but we've seen that the potential to grow it, especially in an academic perspective, is there, and it's definitely something that we'll be looking at stretching ourselves into, at least in the next 2 to 3 years.
So I think that's very exciting, and You know, I understand what you're saying about right now the market not being there, but we've seen these markets grow. So I'm thinking in the US of the interest in by African Americans in their history. And there was this film Roots. And so the head of our Nigeria GPA is Chris Ihidero, who's a very distinguished screenwriter, director, producer. He's doing another Netflix series. He did, I'm going to block on the name of it, an African focused on health issues, initially related to AIDS, and then it moved into other things. I want to say Shula, it's not, Shuga. Anyway, you know, I don't see why this can't create a market, but this is a much bigger than your project. But I just think it would be very exciting. I know Skip Gates in the US pretty well. He has a regular show in the US about Roots, really drawing on distinguished histories of African Americans. You know, it's a market here now. It's a full-fledged market. So I think your vision is spot on, and should let it be as big as it can be. But in the meantime, I have a question about sustainability for what you're trying to do. And Jamie's telling us we're out of time. Yeah.
Oh, yes. All right. So in terms of sustainability, what we've looked at is so a lot of people.
We just lost your sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we hear you. Okay.
So what we've seen is that there's a huge demand. So
yeah, lost it again.
Lost it. Technical glitch here and there.
Yeah, well, we all have them as I'm.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. So in terms of sustainability.
Oops.
Zaka, you need to switch off your speaker. No, Khomotso's speaker's now off. She needs to switch hers on.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So in terms of sustainability, so with COVID and everything happening, we found that a lot of our clients are compelled to take footage of their traditional ceremonies because majority of the family members can't attend, seeing as only 50 people can attend. So we've actually seen a rise in the demand for our services. And we are presuming that it's going to, from now on, it's actually not going to stop. The demand is going to grow because people are seeing the value in capturing those very important moments. Again, another reason is because when traditional ceremonies are done and these cultural ceremonies take place, a lot of the time, the people that are performing them, in comparison to the people who know how things are supposed to be done, will always sit back and say, okay, you know what, this wasn't done correctly, this was done correctly. So we've seen in the past that we've had people requesting us to make some other copies for them for the information that we have, because they want to double check if they have if the ceremonies were done correctly. And of course, you know, a lot of people are just getting into the groove of ensuring that they've got their information stored in some way or another, especially digitally. And so in terms of sustainability, we think that, for example, the reason why we would like to partner with Global Alliance is because we believe that we can offer more value by ensuring that the footage that we take is of a of an international standard, therefore creating value for our clients. And the onus is really on us to ensure that we get more clients to sustain the business. The organization, the foundation, is run on a business model where we need to get clients in order for us to be sustainable. There is no other way. We can't look for funding just to do the projects. The funding is actually there to fund the business aspect of it in terms of getting equipment, subscriptions on services that we require in order for us to produce world-class footage. And I think it's been working so far, and I think it will continue to grow.
Great. Okay, are we out of time, Jamie? Any last questions? Bongi, Jackson?
Kevin.
No,
Sorry, I just wanted
to. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to know where are you storing this information? How is it accessible? Is it securely stored? And how are you giving people access to the information? And are you Zulu specific, or are you running countrywide, or how? Because the problem is that running across the whole country, it becomes a very big operation because each culture has their own set of ceremonies and ways of doing things.
That's very true. So at the moment, we're based in KZN. So a lot of the work revolves around KZN, but the vision is to work in other parts of the country as well. I mean, right now, if we do get a client that's asking us to come through to Thohoyandou, we do it. But majority of the clients that we service are in the KZN area. So we're not bound, we're not geographically bound because it's a business. At the moment, we are okay. So the repository that we're looking at building is basically going to be, people are going to get access to the information via a website that we're trying to build. So I guess that's how people will get access to that information. Right now, the information is being stored on public platforms such as YouTube. Of course, not everything is accessible because we do have some of our information stored on there privately, so nobody can actually access it. What we would like to do is to design a bigger repository or something that's going to be more secure. That is actually why we'd like to partner with Global Alliance, so that we're able to do that.
Great. Jackson?
Where in KZN are you based?
Umgababa.
Okay. No,
Umgababa in the south coast.
Okay. No, like Port Shepstone area. Is that the area?
Oh, okay. So we are just after what is this? Amanzimtoti.
Okay.
It's about 60 k's away from Port Shepstone.
Okay, sure.
You have roots over there, right?
My husband does.
Oh, you mean, okay, sorry, I thought you were talking.
Yes.
I was asking you, Jackson.
Oh.
No, the organization I work for actually works a lot. In fact, my base now is in Durban most of the time.
Durban, yeah.
And I do a lot of museums there, visit a lot of museums. So I was just wondering if it was the same area. It's
okay. Okay.
I just want to ask what is your YouTube channel that we can have a look at it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't. As I said, the YouTube channel for this specific program, it does not exist as yet. So what we've done is we've put the information on there privately, so nobody can access it. We're going to build the repository, and then once we're done with especially the website, then we'll be able to go live with that information.
Great.
Could you let us know so we can take a look?
Of course.
Yeah.
You won't miss it, Karen.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Exciting project.
Thank
you very much.
Wonderful conception.
Thank you very much for the
it.
opportunity.
Okay, great. Now we have two to go. How are we doing, Sako? We're running 15 minutes behind.
Yeah, but everything is set. We're
ready for the next one. So, and when the last applicant was talking about the family, I assume Buthelezi is the QZN Buthelezi family?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
I asked. Oh yes, it's the Buthelezi.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but Buthelezi is it's a kingdom.
King, yeah.
So you get the what's his name, Zwelatini, and then the head of the Buthelezi clan is the second in command of the Zulu.
Okay.
So he's the right hand. So the elder of the clan is the right hand of the
leader
of the
chief.
of the lead of the chief. So it's a very important and very influential clan, and the leader of the clan is 93.
Yeah.
He's just recovered from COVID.
Oh boy. Oh my. That's
amazing.
impressive. I haven't heard any 94-year-olds recovering. That's great.
He's absolutely, he's a dynamo.
Yeah.
Sure. So what Kevin is talking about, the guy is actually the son of the woman I talked about, is Princess Makoko Katinizulu.
Yeah, okay.
She was a sister of a king, a Zulu king, and then she was married to the Buthelezis. And her son, so she was a musician and a culturist, and she was actually taking care of the Zulu kingdom when her parents were banished to St. Helena Island. So she played a very big role as a woman, but because they were not really recognized as a queen in the, so it has to be a male.
Yeah.
So such knowledge would be really interesting to make available.
And I think there is such rich knowledge. It really, I think this could be very big. I think it's very exciting. Okay, we have our next applicant up. So we need to stop having fun here, talking about things, and get back to business. Grace, I'm Ann Peterson, and we have with us several members of the GPA board. Bongi Makabela, Karen Stone, Bob Judd, I can't remember, did I say Jackson? I try to go around my screen, but then people change. Okay, Jackson Markalala, also from South Africa, is from the country committee. Kevin Friedman is a GPA friend, longtime friend, and a distinguished friend, I think is the title. And Jamie Brooks is the executive director. So that's who we have here in addition to Sako.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Great.
Uh-oh. Oh, there she is.
Okay. That's fine. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sako has to mute her mic.
She's on mute.
Grace, you are muted.
Okay. Should I stop? I didn't realize I was on.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to meet me today and interact with me on my project. My name is Grace Gichanga. I am an attorney and a strong advocate of access to justice. Just a little bit of background of how I started and why I started doing what I'm doing. I am actually originally from Kenya. So I've been here about 20 years now. And in my submission, I spoke about how I want to increase access to justice using digital chat platforms because in Africa, we're actually the youngest continent in the world with the majority of the population who's under 35. So for me, when it comes to looking at how justice is experienced, the practice of law has not changed much in the last 100 years. And we need to actually start shifting that narrative in order to enable those who have been left out, either because of cost or for whatever other reason, for them to be able to access and experience the justice system as we believe that it should. So my project, Luma Law, is a digital chat platform that lives on accessible and familiar chat platforms such as Facebook Messenger, and we're soon to go on WhatsApp. The reason why we did that was because everyone's glued to their phone, and that's usually, you usually go to your phone and that's the first place you go to look for information. And with Africa, there's a whole digital mobile explosion that's happened in the last 10 years. So for me, it just made sense that if you're going to give people information about the law and what to do and how to access their rights, the best place to go is just do it on your phone. Oh. So our model is that obviously tech is expensive, and our initial costs have been pretty high and continue, because what we actually want to do is to be able to have conversations with people, real life conversations with people, and especially a language of their choice. So whether people are Swahili or Zulu or Afrikaans or French, we want to be able to explain to people what their rights are and what to do in a language that they understand, because we find that that usually has the best response. And the reason why I came to that conclusion is because I've been running community legal literacy workshops since 2016. Also started because I just felt that there was more to life, and I wanted to just impart the knowledge that I take for granted as an attorney, that I realized actually has life-changing consequences for real people, whether it's if they're losing their job, or if they want to claim maintenance from a spouse or an ex-spouse, or just basic legal things that face real people, and when those issues are not resolved, it ends up in frustration. People lose money, people lose their faith in the justice system. And that's a big driver as to why I started doing this. And for me, to be honest, I know we like to say that the law is complicated, but there's things and there's topics that are not that complicated. And I think it's important for us to demystify the law in order to democratize the law. So for me, a lot of the information that we provide on the chatbot that's currently on Facebook Messenger is free. All that content is free. It's provided in a very conversational format, because, well, people don't like reading, so you need to actually grab the user's attention and explain to them legal concepts in a manner and in a tone that they actually understand. But because businesses are not built out of air, for us to be sustainable, our model is that we provide them with the free content, the basic free content that's usually found in the legislation. But should they need an attorney, or should they need to speak to a lawyer to help them guide them through a whole legal journey, then we would be able to provide them with that access at a nominal amount. And this goes across a lot of legal subjects, but with migrant youth, the situation is very precarious in South Africa when it comes to migrant youth. And for me, there's a lot in the law that could actually positively impact a lot of these young people's lives. But because they don't know, a lot of people just stay within the shadows, scared to come out, because they're afraid that should they come forward, it'll either expose themselves or their families. And I just want to be able to provide them with information via their phones, where it's safe and it's accessible, and they don't need to feel as if they're exposing themselves or their families.
Okay, thank you. This isn't what GPA usually does, but I understand that you're trying to get your business online. We have in our group 2 attorneys who will have expertise about your business. What questions do we have for Grace?
Hi, Grace. Bob and I are 2 of those folks, and I like what you're doing, and I like the access to justice aspect of it, and especially in particular with respect to minors and migrants and immigrants. I think it could be very powerful. However, I have my body shakes a little bit thinking of a bot providing legal advice. How do you shield yourself from liability?
Go ahead. Okay. We've put out a disclaimer because in South Africa, only a lawyer can actually give you legal advice. So the way we've put it out there is that I don't know if you guys have access to the bot. We are on Facebook at Hi Luma Law. We've put out very specific disclaimers to let people know that this is just legal information, and that should they want specific legal advice, then they would have to sign up to our paid platform, and then that would deliver them directly and give them access to an actual attorney to be able to assist them with their specific legal problem. And this goes to the point that when I spoke to people and why I chose a chat bot is because a lot of people were saying that they were Googling already to get information about the law and about their situations. But what you found was that there's a lot of information on the internet. It's not all good information. And people found that when they, especially when they're trying to access websites via their phone, it's very data heavy. So because people generally, the target market that I'm looking at or predominantly looking at doesn't have access to that much data, they would need to be able to have access to this information in quickly, and it needs to be vetted. So that's one of the first reason why we went particularly with chat platforms. And the second thing is that with WhatsApp, users are even able to access our information without data. So when they're using Facebook free mode, they already have access to this information. But to close your question, we have put out disclaimers that this is not legal advice. We've put out disclaimers that this is a chat bot, this is not a human, and to speak to a lawyer, they need to specifically opt in to be able to have access to that legal advice.
Just to follow up, do you have to follow up with a Luma lawyer, or do you have access to any lawyer that they can follow up with in the community?
Yes, actually, we have partnered with a legal insurer called Law for All. They're one of the bigger legal insurance firms in the country. And the reason for this is because when I built Luma, I built it for scale. And if I build it for scale, I need attorneys that can act at scale. So the reason for this collaboration is that they have lawyers that work in a call center setting, which then allows for the user to be able to access that attorney anytime, day or night, because we have access to the lawyers who will be available to service their requests.
Grace, my question is specifically, what are you going to use the funding for to build the information that you'll post on WhatsApp or whatever? And so you're going to build the modules that you'll paste in there, or what?
100%. I am not the go-to. I'm not an immigration lawyer. I'm not an immigration attorney, even though I do work in this space because I have a passion for this space. But I understand that once you start putting content online, it needs to be content that, one, makes sense to the end user, and two, is beneficial to the end user. So a lot of this is going to go towards getting expert advice as to what is possible and what is not possible, considering the different type of migrant categories that we have currently in South Africa. And that expert information is what we're now going to synthesize and put it on the chatbot as content for specifically the migrants to be able to access.
What information do you have that people are able to use the information to good end? Do you have any information about impact?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that?
Yeah. Do you have any information that when people do access the chat, that they're able to use that to get the advice that they need to be successful? Do you have effectiveness information?
Yes. So the bot, the developers that we're using also have a monitoring and evaluation platform in addition to the cloud platform where the bot lives. And we launched at the beginning of the lockdown, so that was early April. And from then we've been able to track and see how, I think it coincided nicely that everyone was at home. But since then, we've been able to see, at least in the first month, we had about 1,000 unique users to the platform. And that's just grown. And it's shown us that people are actually using the platform. Some people don't go through all the information flows. And from when we feedback with them, they say that, no, I already got what I wanted, so I'm fine. And then the people that actually go through, we've actually asked them to to rate us and say, was this information helpful to you or not? But obviously we will get better as time goes by, as we grow, as the bot gets smarter, we will get better at doing all of that.
Okay.
Hi, Anne.
Yeah, go ahead, Bongi.
Yes. Thank you very much for the work you're doing. You've got lawyers there. I was trained as a paralegal when I started my work. So I understand what you're talking about and what it means and what it requires. And it's actually, I was part of the advice office movement, which was one of our biggest movements in the country for human rights. It's unfortunate that the advice office movement has not been properly funded, and there are huge gaps. And I was just wondering if, and I understand your model is different, but I'm wondering if you would be connecting with similar organizations. The Black Sash, for example, they fought a lot of issues. They do tend to look at the public issues, but it would be many of the issues that come in as at a personal level. They also when you look at them, they're actually bigger than the individual. So you can move them on to people who deal with public interest law. And I just wanted to see if you are connecting and connected to those many advice offices. And I see a reimagined of the advice office movement, which I think is great, because that's the only thing people have that is so close and can give them reliable information and advice. Thank you.
100%, Bongi, 100%. Actually, before I partnered with the legal insurer, my intention and my current plan is still to work with the paralegal and community advice office movement. I actually am in talks with their executive director, because I understand that, not everybody has access to the funds, even as nominal as they may be. 90 Rand might be a lot of money for somebody, but it might not be for somebody else. But that's 100% the point, is that I want people to have, the whole point is to have access to justice, whether that comes in through a paid model where you have access to a lawyer, or whether we direct you towards services where you'd be able to access a paralegal. Because I found that in my interactions with the paralegals, people don't know that they exist. People will live in a community and not know that there's an advice center that two blocks down from them, and they'll end up taking 2-3 taxis to Joburg to access what legal aid, or to Braamfontein, without knowing that these services actually exist within their communities. So 100%, the whole idea is to plug in a network of partners to work with the situation. And when you speak about strategic litigation firms, or firms that are doing this kind of work, specifically with the migrant work, we're actually working with the Legal Resource Center, because they were the ones who were responsible for taking the case to court for migrant children who've been born in South Africa and then being able to access citizenship. So yes, 100%, we're looking to work with the people who are the experts in this space. I mean, I think that for me, I need to be humble enough to understand that I might bring in the whole tech angle, but this project is bigger than I am. It's bigger than what Luma is. And for me to be able to deliver information, not just about the law, not just about how it works, but also access to other players in the space that are providing similar services or better services, for me, that's what Luma stands for.
Other questions? Go ahead, Jackson.
Hi, Grace. Thanks for that very beautiful, impactful idea. So my question, even though it might have been covered, I'm not sure, but so the sustainability of this, for instance, if funded by GIP or partnered with Global Philanthropy Alliance, how do you see this actually sustaining itself financially beyond that grant?
We are looking to push the access to the paid services. So that's one where we're looking to actually become sustainable. Interestingly enough, in the last 2 months, we've actually found a new revenue channel, which is actually white labeling the bot. The same insurer that we're partnering with actually approached us. They liked the bot so much that they actually wanted it for their own website. They're willing to work with us and be patient with us as we add to the machine learning and the intelligence of the chatbot. But from an information dissemination point of view, they were saying that they've got articles on their website, but people are not reading them. But if you look at the conversational way in which we've done our flows, it makes it easier to digest legal information and legal concepts. So those are some of the ways that we're looking to further monetize the bot, white labeling it. I've been speaking to some other NGO organizations such as Pro Bono, but it's still very early talks. But the whole idea is to be able to white label the bot for other institutions to be able to, to disseminate this information to the end user, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the end user comes through Luma. The point is that they get the information that they need in order for them to enforce their rights in whatever situation that they find themselves in.
And what does white labeling mean? What does that
It means we actually clone the bot. So we've got the Luma bot, and then the legal insurance firm wants us to just clone it, put their logo, put their branding on it, and then they'll call it their Law for All bot, or it'll be a pro bono bot.
So you sell usage, or you actually sell is it a one-time purchase on their part, or is it a subscription to?
It would be like a licensing subscription. So they would be paying monthly for us to be updating the content on the chatbot, as well as the advantage of, as the bot gets smarter, as the Luma bot gets smarter, all of that gets cloned onto all the other bots. Yeah.
Okay, it seems like I saw one other hand. Was that you, Kevin, or are we done, Jamie? Tell us. Okay.
We have 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute left.
If you have the last question. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Grace. Fascinating project. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Nice to meet you
so much.
too.
Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you so much for making the time to see me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, bye.
Great. Okay. So,
Anne, can I say something? I have to sign off at 10:15. Well, 12:15.
Yeah.
So if I disappear, that's
why.
I'm disappearing.
Yeah.
So Jamie, as we're working with them, as she was talking about that in all our relationships, we need to make sure we're comfortable that she's a nonprofit kind of organization. I don't know if she practices in a legal setting. Is it her law firm's doing that, or is she doing that? Is it a separate deal? I just think we need to.
I agree. I don't know what the landscape is for professional liability.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I think she's saying the right things about we're not giving legal advice, and it was interesting what you talked about. Law firms have, which is very typical here. They'll have how to do something, and it'll be promotion for their firm to come and sort it out. And I think that's a much more user-friendly way to do it on a cell phone and not be going to Humpty Dumpty and the Wall firm to get this heavy-sounding legal tome that I don't know what that means. So you wonder what's out there competitively too. But I'm more worried about, is she really a nonprofit thing? So we ought to at least pursue that if we're going to or qualify for that. She'll probably come through Ensako, but we need to, it's got to be it's intended for a public good, and it doesn't seem to be steering toward her, which is a good thing.
Right, not at all.
But that was just.
Yeah, we need to check that. I can't
remember. It occurred
remember.
to me as she was talking about all that, and other firms are contacting her, and so is that a business, or is it a public good thing?
Right. Is she just producing content, or is she?
Yeah, producing content that she's selling to insurance companies and law firms to go out and market with.
Right.
So I just,
which is done all the time.
Yeah. So, and we need to assess whether it fits our mission. It is entrepreneurial, and there is social benefit, no question about that.
But it's just her. I don't think she's going to have. I don't think she has a bunch of. She's had law firms are writing the content for her, so I don't see where she's.
Yeah, it's through
using young
partnerships.
people. Yeah, it's through partnerships.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't get past that question, there's no reason to go further with all of the
Yeah.
intricacies.
Yeah, that would be a. in my
Where are
mind,
we
would be
with that?
So you'll
This is
make
really-
that assessment, Jamie?
Well, I'd rather have the board make an assessment as to whether or not this is in our
It
wheelhouse.
fits our mission, yeah.
Before we start asking her to provide all this additional
I
content.
think it's a real question.
Yeah. Well, and I'd like to hear Bongi on this too. It's clearly in a space that's near and dear to her heart, but how do you think this fits with GPA, Bongi?
I'm not sure what is the question. Is it because it's the legal?
Right.
I'm not sure. And if it's entrepreneurial, if it's youth-led,
exactly.
Or maybe the question would be, is it impacting young people? And maybe you would have a question there because it's intended to impact a larger community.
It's much broader. Yeah.
The impact part's
But
okay. Yeah.
but led by young people to deal with the issue of, which is a major issue of access to not so much to a lawyer, but people being able to navigate their lives, and their lives that are determined often by law. So I would say is it entrepreneurial? I think in this space it has always been seen as doing good and therefore funded by donors. But is there an issue where because I looked at her documents, her other documents, the fees that she charges are negligible. They're not something that you would say a lawyer would charge. So they're very low. So I don't think it does not fit within GPA unless we take issue probably with the fact that the consumers of the service might not be young people, even though the leaders of the service would be young people.
Yeah, but I assume since it's, number one, it's a very young country like all of Africa, but number two, if they focus especially on migrants, I would assume most of those are also young people. Is that the case?
One, it would be young people when you focus on migrants. The other issue they're focusing on, which is a critical issue, is the issue of child maintenance, which is a huge issue of men who just don't support their children, and often people must go to the family court. The family court needs this and that. Women are often, and young women often don't have the resources or even just the knowledge to deal. Because in her submission, she talks about her father and her mother's divorce and how they were disadvantaged by that, and how that inspired her to look after those who, like her mother, would walk away after years of marriage with nothing. So I think it would indeed, because you are right, because we are such a young population, families tend to be very young families, and the people who will be impacted upon positively would be young people. So if we maintain that it's led by young people, it's run by young people, and they bring in all the expertise of the human rights laws, and she's, I mean, if she's talking to the Legal Resources Center, it's an organization of huge integrity, and if she's working with them, I think it's something that I would support.
Okay, great.
It sounds a lot like our issue with DACA and people that came
in the United States.
Said, hey, we've heard that story before. And
It's a big issue in the U.S. So let's get clarification from her about the intended clientele, and so that we can determine mission fit. But I think that's the only issue.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, it looks like our next group is on deck here. So welcome. I'm Ann Peterson for Global Philanthropy Alliance, and we have from our GPA board, Vangi Makabela, Bob Judd, and Jamie Brooks is the executive director. Kevin Friedman is a distinguished friend from South Africa of GPA, and Molafeni Markalala is a member of the GPA South Africa Country Committee. So that's who we've got here. So the floor is yours. Tell us in 10 minutes what, why you are seeking funding from us. Jamie is our timekeeper, and she'll start waving her hands at 10 minutes. So you know that that's the hook. And then we'll have 10 minutes to ask you questions. Okay?
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Good day, my name is Zamasa Mlengana.
And hi, my name is Damatam Sangam Kize.
My name is Batiswa Mlauli.
We are from Farm to Fork, and our farm is situated in a place called Theoville by Vanderbale Park. Yes, we started Farm to Fork in 2017, and we started doing the farming late 2018. We are seeking funding to be able to grow our farm. We are currently leasing 10 hectares of land, and in that 10 hectares, from our own pockets, we have managed to plant to be able to plant 1 hectare for, yes, from a 4 patch, like from a small patch to a hectare full. So we would like to get funding to be able to grow from this 1 hectare to about 3 to 4 hectares, to be able to put irrigation and to be able to put shade netting, because we suffer greatly from frost in the winter season. Yes. Also, we would like to we work mostly with females, young females like us. We offer them training to empower them with skills in farming, to learn about growing your own vegetables, to be able to harvest and sell and make a profit from that. Yes. So we need the funding to be able to offer training to like a bigger group of females, to be able to grow our farm, to be able to...
Another reason why we need funding is because we have learned that vegetation you need money for it to grow, for it to become what we see it becoming in the near future and also in the long run. We need funding firstly because we can only stretch our own pockets so far. And we see that if we could get some assistance, we would be able to then open up more space, which would actually then give us the chance to be able to do the things that we say that we want to do. For instance, we want to work with young ladies. For instance, give like learnership programs for them to be able to learn how to plant and how to make a living out of it, if that is their desire, or if it's just to plant in order to consume for families. If there's another thing that we've also been looking at was knowing that we are the youth, and usually most of the time we have to wait, apply for jobs after varsity, and sometimes honestly we don't get as fortunate as other people may get. So we decided, let us then start making something that can actually help other people also be able to do what they want to do. For instance, we work with youth directly because we believe it's time that we as the youth start holding hands and working together in order to be able to grow. Yeah.
To add on what Nomatamsanga said, what we would like to do as the company is to employ more youth, show them that it's possible to make your own money without being employed. That way they'll be able to help other people to want to stretch knowledge, because even us, we were taught by other people how to make money, how to generate more ideas on how to grow our businesses. And yeah.
Also, we have noticed that in the area where we are situated in Vanderbale, there is no nursery. Like, we had been out of seedlings for a long while, and we noticed that there's no nursery nearby. So also we would like to be able to start our own nursery so that the neighboring, the people close to us, like in the Vaal area, in
Other
Joburg,
farmers.
other farmers can be able to buy their seedlings from us. And also it serves us to be able to propagate and plant our own seedlings for directly planting, which
Rather
is
than buying.
rather than buying, which cuts costs and
Also generates
generate income. Also, we'd like to host open days at our farm, like open days whereby we have people coming in to learn more about farming, to be able to buy whatever we'll be selling, whatever we have harvested, and we'll be selling at that specific market day, let's say we call it that. And then we like to host young kids, like from as young as 4 years old, to learn to plant stuff, like to plant, to harvest, in order for the kids to grow with their knowledge. I believe farming is it's very important, and everyone should be able to grow, to plant and grow their own food. And our biggest goal would be to encourage a garden in every homestead. Like every house should have a small Anyana patch of garden where they can be able to grow their vegetables. However, we want to start that at our farm by encouraging the training, encouraging the youth to learn, encouraging the youth to make profit from their farm. And also as a way to make profit in our own farm, we sell, we plant, we harvest, we sell. We have managed to plant 1 hectare of vegetables, sea herbs, and a variety of medicinal plants. We harvest, we sell to your local markets and your street vendors, and we sometimes put our own table there where we sell directly to the people as a way of making income. And yes.
More than anything, we believe in growing gradually, because this has been working for us. We started off on a small patch, from a small patch to adding more beds, to it being 1/2 hectare, from 1/2 hectare to being a hectare. Because I believe if you grow gradually, then you are able to sustain. You are able to see your mistakes and go back and fix where you're supposed to fix, and then be able to grow from that as well. So you grow from the business growing as well.
Could you tell us how you plan to get from where you are now to being sustainable? How will the funding help you become sustainable? What's your plan for that?
For us to be sustainable, we need to sell. For instance, for now, we have only occupied 1 hectare of land, and we have 10 hectares of land at our disposal. So if we get this funding, then we are able to firstly get shade netting, because we had to pause for a while because of winter, and we can't harvest during winter. We don't have much to sell or to harvest during winter time. So if we do have shade netting, then we know that we are constantly selling throughout the year. If we are constantly selling throughout the year, we are able to open up more hectares. For us to be able to open up more hectares, we need more hands. That means that we are employing more of the youth to come and help us at the plot. And then from there, we are growing gradually. But then more than anything, because right now we are leasing land, we are planning that if we can be able to grow in a manner that we are able to be able to get our own land, so that our whole business is sustainable. Because in the long run, we also want to have a place that is an eatery that is in the plots, that is on site. So those are structures that are permanent, and we can't have permanent structures in land that has been leased. So that's one of the things that we
okay. And secondly, we will use the funding to create our own nursery. The current nurseries that we use are about 160 kilometers in Pretoria from Vaal we buy them in Pretoria. So if we create our own nursery, we'll be able to get our own clients, other farmers who will buy from us, so that we can generate more profit for ourselves.
So it's a matter of achieving enough scale, sort of jumping ahead with all these things, so that then you can become gradually sustainable. Is that the picture you're painting?
Yes, to be able to supply more volumes, because right now we are only selling to our street vendors, our local supermarkets in the community, because we only have veggies in 1 hectare, and we have different types, so we can only harvest those different types at a time. So if we can be able to produce more volumes, which means opening up more hectares, then that way we will be able to sustain the business.
And secure bigger markets, yes. Because now we struggle with securing bigger markets. When we approach, they worry about the quantity and the demand, and if we'll be able to meet, considering that we only have 1 hectares. So we would like to grow like from 1 hectare to about 3 to 4 hectares. That way we can secure the bigger markets and we can grow. And yeah, our business, we can make like sustainable choices and stuff like that.
Other questions? Bob
You
and Jackson.
mentioned leased lands. How much area do you have there, and why are you using the leased lands rather than opening up the additional hectares on your land that you talk about?
Okay. We don't own land personally. We don't own land, so leasing was our only option. We are currently leasing 10 hectares, and in that 10 hectares, we've only been able to plant 1 hectare.
Got it.
And the growth is gradual because we've been using our own money, and it is taking a while. Yeah.
So it's the same land, it just, you want to produce more on it. Yes. Okay.
Land is a very interesting question at the moment. Well, I'm just saying in South Africa, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry I went there.
So thank you, Farm to Folk, for the presentation and beautiful ideas. So if I understand well, or maybe as a question, is there anything else that the investment or the partnership with GPA would do for you guys other than upscaling from 1 to 3, for instance? Because my understanding is that a lot of it, you're going to keep the same model, everything as it is, except for upscaling. Is that the idea, to use the money for upscaling?
Yes.
And the
because right now, upscaling is what is going to help us get to where we want to go.
To be able to grow enough and make enough profit to be able to buy our own land. Last we had a meeting with the Department of Agriculture, and they advised us that leasing land is not sustainable in a long term, because people can just move you and the contract can end, and whilst the soil is getting more fertile, and as in the long run the soil gets more richer. And so our plan is to make enough to be able to buy our own land. Then in our own land we can put structures such as the eatery that we want to go in. We want to go into poultry. We want to start hosting the open days. We want to do the nursery. We're gonna start it now, but we'd also like to have it like permanently, a permanent structure in our own land, where we can have like a big nursery where you can offer from your manure to your seeds to your seedlings, like everything in general. So, but now for the plan for now is to be able to grow and grow enough and involve enough females to grow with us, to be able to afford our own land where they can also come and join the team. And yes, and also on the side we help plant gardens, like community gardens for the elderly and the orphans. So we get a lot of volunteers who come and help us with that, to plant the home gardens like on weekends for the elderly and stuff like that. So most of those females have an interest of coming to us at the plot to see what we do and all that. But because we don't have enough finances, let's say for transport, because most of them come from poor backgrounds, so we'd like to grow enough to be able to afford even transport, to be able to transport them, take them to the plot, have them work for a day, have them learn the basics and the skills, to be able to go back home and apply and use it in their lives to make a living for themselves also. Yes.
So there clearly are lots of things that you could do. What are your biggest priorities to achieve? I mean, I can see that it's really a huge challenge to go from planting on 1 hectare to even 3 to 4. And with the 3 of you, I mean, what are your biggest priorities? And I get a little worried when you start talking about all the other people that could be involved, but what are you going to focus on?
When we get this funding.
Yes.
What we should focus on mainly when we get this funding is the startup of the nursery, as well as shade netting, because we need that a lot. I think we have to prioritize those two things at the moment, because the seedling nursery can help us generate more income to be able to buy more seeds to make more seedlings, and then shade netting will help us to make sure that the frost doesn't affect us as much as it used to before, and we are able to produce throughout the year.
Throughout the year.
Okay, other questions?
I noticed in looking at your financials that May of 2020 was much lower sales than the prior year. I mean, in 2019, you didn't have, you only had 2 or 3 months that were below $1 million rand, and it was only 500. So is that a COVID issue this year that you were not able to raise as much or sell as much?
It was a COVID issue, yes, and it also had to do with our winter this year was very cold. So the frost, our vegetables suffered a lot from the frost. So even the quantities that we were able to harvest were not as much as we had harvested the previous year. Also the COVID and they closed down. Now the people could not come and put in as much time at the farm because other people had to focus on finding things that were going to generate income right now, since everything was closed down and people had to eat. So we also lost a few members of our team due to the COVID lockdown because people needed a job that was going to be able to pay them now. And as for now, we don't earn an income yet, so we could not be able to keep them there. So our sales were greatly affected by the frost, I would say, and the COVID-19 also played a role because we could not be there as much as we were able to, and we did not have as much hands as we had the previous year. However, we were able to get help as in volunteers and stuff, but also volunteers, we sometimes give them vegetables. There was a way to say thank you and whatnot. So because of the quantity that we harvested this year, we were not able to give away as much, and we were not able to get as much assistance from the people. Yes, so everything lied on us. So also getting the funding would help us get hands, 2 or 3 people that would help us to be able to grow and be able to plant as much as we would like to do and have enough hands to go around with the work. Yes.
Any questions from Bongi or Jackson or Kevin? Jamie's given us the sign that we need to wrap up.
I would just say that beekeeping is also a very interesting form of income, and if you're planting very different things, it may be something that you want to look at is beekeeping.
So beekeeping.
Yes,
yeah,
we also
had interest on that.
We're
actually planning on attending trainings on it so that we are able to also get into preferably everything that has to do with farming.
Yes, we also, if we get that, when we get the funding, let's say, we would also like to attend trainings, also to help with food processing, other types of farming, the beekeeping. We'd also heard about rabbit farming. We would also like to go into poultry and, other types of livestock. But then it also starts a bit small. And we'd also like to have more training because we have different fields of knowledge.
Skills,
yes,
yeah,
to acquire more skills. Yes, to be able to grow.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It sounds like you're working very hard under difficult circumstances. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
So now we have a debrief. Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye-bye.
So I think we will talk on the we had a scheduled meeting later. Hey, Jamie.
For you and,
Yeah.
and myself. Okay, fine. All right, thank you so much, everybody. That was a long morning for you, but thank you for staying with. And
I think-
everybody seems to have left feeling really good.
And
You
Sako, we'd like just a little conversation among ourselves, but
Not a
we still
problem.
have the group on.
Not a problem.
They're in the same space. You may have to go over there and turn them off.
Yeah.
Here she comes.
Yeah, I think they're unhooked. Okay. Great. So on this one, anyone have enthusiasm?
Well, they have, I think, really tough decisions. I'm thinking about that. They're making these investments in leased land, and they really need to be buying land so that they can't make very physical improvements that they don't walk away from. So I don't know the economics and how much do you spend here on leased land and improve the soil and put in netting and irrigation. But what you really need to do is be working on your own land. I don't understand that. I know that Fulmami mentioned it's not so simple to buy land, and that's probably a bigger number than they can deal with. So I think sustainability is tough for them, because the better they get, the more they've invested in land they don't own.
They don't know, yeah. So I assume the background issue that Jackson was referring to is the one that this is their land that they now have to buy. And so that's the big political issue in the country. But then
it's leased enough that they may be able to buy it down the road.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, this was something we were working on when I was at the Kellogg Foundation, 2 decades ago, and it hasn't moved much at all in any country that I know of. So I don't think they can count on that.
Right.
But it just seems that as you say, the odds are stacked against them doing any of these things with leased land. They're not going to be able to sustain their investment if they do want to buy land. They should just focus on that. And I don't know, what do other people think? I don't know much about the current situation.
I've got to be honest with you. Leased land is fine. 80% of the farmers that I know who run big commercial farms work on leased land.
Okay.
I've got friends who own land and they lease it out because it's very, very standard, normal business, and people build buildings and they do things on leased land. It's, what you need to do is you need to secure a long-term lease. That's a different story altogether, but there's no problem. If you look at it, how many companies build buildings that are leased? I really don't understand that whole concept of owning. I do understand the concept of owning land, and I do understand all the goodwill of owning land. But if you run a business as a proper business, you don't have to own the land to be able to have good beneficiation. As long as you've got good leases, and you know that you've got access to the land, then the cost of owning the land, they're probably going to be paying on their bond probably 3 or 4 times what they're leasing the land for as bond repayments. So that puts absolute undue stress on the company. So for me, I actually think there's nothing wrong with leased land.
As long as they have secure tenure?
As long as they've got secure tenure, there should be no problem with leased land. I really feel quite strongly about that.
Thank you, Kevin. I think then the question is, do they have a long-term lease, or what's the term of their lease?
Yeah, and we don't know that. But you were going to say something, Jackson.
I also agree that No, I say I agree largely with Kevin too, that I think if they're able to operate on a leased land and they're able to reach the social impact that we're looking for and sustain themselves, perhaps with a longer lease, really, because buying, I know, like, to be honest, I just think they mention it as a longer term, that the grant itself would speed up the process, but it would take a lot to buy land. It will be millions for them to really buy that, which is a separate focus. But I think, as Kevin said, I think it should be on the basis of leasing and then on the basis of producing the impact that they want to reach, and as well as being sustainable. That I think on the basis of leasing rather than thinking of buying land later. That I think it's way too ambitious. That I don't think, honestly, I don't think giving GPA's contribution towards growth would actually contribute enormously towards buying land to the end.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you that to buy land like that is probably 10 hectares in that part of the country is probably going to be about 250,000 Rand. Maybe 300,000 Rand, but not a cent more than that.
Yeah, it sounds cheap.
But that's why I'm saying to you is that what they're paying on rent must be very, very low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that kind of, I mean, it's, you know, it's, I mean, I know that if you go further out, if you get on the Vaal River, you get a piece of land, you're paying 10,000 Rand a hectare.
I can't hear, I don't know if I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on that note, as kind of to put this to bed, we have given a grant to a similar organization in South Africa that had a 10-year lease.
Okay.
So we've done
Okay.
Oh, that works. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So apart from the land issue then, do they have strong enough plans that they're going to reach their goal? And is their goal going from 1 hectare to 3 to 4? Is that enough? I also worried that they seemed all over the place, but
yeah, their video is kind of all over the place too. I mean, I guess that raises the question about ownership versus leasing, and I was struggling with that.
But if we put that issue aside, hearing from our South African colleagues that we should, is this group going to be able to make it? What's our level of confidence?
My feeling is that they are already operating at the moment, given all the resources they have, but at a lower scale. So the risk of this, or the feasibility, really, one can already bet on their ability to really perform. But the upscaling itself has its own risks that I am not sure if they are ready to tackle, which would mean like upscaling the personnel to new challenges, and as well the products, and increasing the market and all these things. I don't know if they've taken that into consideration. But in terms of investing or analyzing their ability to perform, I think at the moment, if we are happy with our current project as it is, and if you believe that GPA is happy with helping someone who already has a project just to upscale, that I think it's fundable. Yes.
But as Bob noted, their current revenue is half what it had been because of COVID, and they outlined the problems there, that everyone has to work on other jobs, so they don't have the same level of person power to maintain the farm. I mean, everything they said just made me seem more like, can they do this now? I mean, that's
their 2020 numbers were only 1 month. I didn't understand why. Is that the only month they sold stuff? I mean,
yeah.
The summer was, I mean, through the end of the beginning of the year was not in the winter, and they were not reporting any sales. Whereas the prior year for 2019, they had 12 months of sales.
Yeah.
Okay. Our financial year, depending on the company, is either end of February or end of March.
Oh, okay.
So we run our year. So, so I mean, nobody ends, because it's the middle of the summer. So nobody ends in December.
Okay.
December's holiday period. So generally, it's the 28th of February or the 30th of March, depending on companies. At worst, they'll do a July year end. But nobody, South Africa does not do a December year end.
Okay.
But they only gave us income for May, which raises the question of
1 month May. They presented a 12-month statement for the prior. It was organized like our they started, I think, January through, but it could be switched anyway, just switch the columns around. But
okay, but from the 27th of March, the country was in complete lockdown. So March, April, they weren't allowed to trade. So the fact is that they were only allowed to trade. So they lost 1.5 months of trading, which meant that, and they were only limited to go onto the farm. You had to get special government approval to leave your house. They were arresting you if you went out of your house because we had curfew. Then they opened the curfew for several hours a day. So what happened was that they basically couldn't harvest, couldn't plant, couldn't anything. So I mean, that's what's happened to our entire economy.
Yeah. And so what are the prospects going forward? Yeah, go ahead, Bongi.
My sense, and I'm looking at it from how well they have done on their own. Mm-hmm. They have leased the land on their own. They have been able to farm stuff and to sell stuff on their own until, that time when COVID hit all of us and all business was affected. I do think that they've started very well. I do think that they need some intervention that would be for planning, for bringing in the right skills, because they're also taking a lot of advice from people who might not necessarily know what they're talking about, even though they're in positions where they should know. Government officials, for example, I wouldn't trust, because they're the ones who would say, don't lease the land. I mean, they are the ones who understand the land issue more than anybody else. To tell enthusiastic young people not to lease the land, but to buy it with what? And why should they buy it? It does not make any sense. So I do think they need some hand-holding intervention, just in terms of their clarifying their own understanding in their own minds. But I do think that GPA could support them on, because they're really looking for something basic. They need to cover the crops so that they don't get the next time, they don't get into the same issue. But we're still talking about that acre, and then begin to expand. As to whether they'll expand to 3 or 4, I think it's dependent on the capacity we could offer them or enable them to access. That would probably be the expertise of a seasoned farmer who could look at that and have some ideas for them. But I think they are just looking at what they've been able to do whilst a lot of people are sitting around and not knowing what to do. They give me a lot of confidence. They give me a sense that no one employed them. And they can say, we're not taking salaries. Very few people can say that statement without a sense of feeling sorry for themselves.
Yeah.
And therefore they seem like a business I would want to invest in.
So if we were to give them a small bit of money to get this advice and create a realistic plan for how they're going to reach their goal, would that make sense?
I think if we were to give them that and some money to cover the crops, because that seems to be a big issue for them. Just so it's almost like your house is leaking and someone is giving you money to plan for a bigger house. You have to stop the leak. So I think they need to stop the leak and just have the space to think about where to from here. And there are lots of farmers in South Africa. I mean, we have universities that are extremely good. I'm thinking of the Free State University, extremely good on farming. If you get a few of those people and their students on the ground there, they'll probably do amazing work with those very willing and enthusiastic young people. Thanks.
Okay, that's very helpful. Okay, anything else on them?
1 second. Could you
go ahead, Jamie?
Could you repeat the second point that you were talking about? Additional. We talked about advice or technical support for business and sustainability plan. What was the second component of that?
The second was what they asked for. They asked for the shade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shade net.
Yes.
Okay.
I like their enthusiasm and energy. So, I mean, I think and they've proven, I mean, if you look at their 2019 year, they had a pretty good year. I don't know what their expenses were for that. But.
No. You're reading that as much bigger numbers than they are.
No, I realize that, but still,
it's 2,000 rand for the month, or 5,000 rand for the month. It's not.
Right. But it's.
So I think they really, what they need is they need mentorship. They need somebody to go in and teach them how to farm. Because what's happening is that looking at the pictures of the farm, they're monocropping.
Yeah.
Which is what's giving them only harvest on a single day. So if you have a look, the whole farm's ready to harvest at the same time. So and they're doing, the whole new movement is non-till farming, and they're doing completely tilling farming, so that you lose all your topsoil when you till farm. So there's a lot of stuff that they could be doing there that they miss, that they're losing out, because it is a wonderful thing that they're doing. But I think that mentorship is more important for them than actually being given. I mean, I don't know if you do that you get a mentor to go in with a small budget, maybe to help them with the seed or help them with something, but to actually teach them and physically on hand, teach them what they're doing wrong. Because farming is not intuitive. Farming is a learned skill. And it's so important. And I'm just, I'm looking at these pictures, and the quality of what they're growing is unbelievable. But it's all at the same level, which is really worrying me.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see what we can learn about that and see what's feasible. Overall, any feedback from this group? Did you find the applications useful, the videos? Any feedback from the session?
I liked the videos, and a couple of them were really quite long for what we were learning from it. I found myself, I wanted to fast forward through that group because they kind of kept saying the same thing over. Right. So I think, editing on some of those, but some of them were beautifully done. They were short, to the point.
Right.
And, so I think it's very helpful to have the live video in addition to the application. It brings it forth, but I think they didn't all follow 5 minutes.
Right.
And I think that's a good rule. But otherwise,
and some were even shorter and got
some were shorter and got it done. Probably the best ones were the shortest ones.
Right.
They got it and said what they were doing and said thank you.
Other feedback.
Listen, I have to tell you, I mean, last year I told you that this was one of the highlight days of my year.
Yeah.
And to just experience the positivity and the excitement and how you manage to find these people doing such extraordinary things is just so inspirational. So thank you so much.
And that's Sako. She has really, I mean, we went from thinking we were going to leave South Africa, which would have hurt my heart, to having fabulous grantees. And we would have had a much longer day. And I said, I can't do it. Our 2 days, no, so there were more that she could have shown us, but she somehow has performed the miracle of finding really good projects. And I know she did a lot of work with grantees to get the videos, and I think they're all learning a lot. The other thing I really love the idea of learning across countries, and it turned out not to be feasible for a whole lot of reasons, like Nigeria didn't want South Africans to come and vice versa. But I see so much potential of learning across countries too. And so I hope we can do some of that. One thing that we've shared with Bongi at our last GPA US board meeting, and Bongi now is part of that group, but we concluded that that in terms of the future, I kept pushing us to refresh the board, but everyone said, and if anything happens to you, we're not sustainable, because I bring in so many matches from the foundation, both my retirement foundation, Benny, and another one that I serve that does a 3-to-1 match. So that's where we get the funds. And this year we had the benefit of the Kellogg Foundation, extra $50,000 for COVID, and almost everything, especially this round, is COVID related. So we have a clock now on GPA of, and tell me now, is it 3 years left or 2 years left? What's our time horizon? 2 years left. Okay. So and there will be funds left over at the end of that, most likely. So we're looking for how to go forward with some kind of model. So that's where we are as an organization. The pitch sessions that we did last year in South Africa on site, we now have done those in all 3 countries, and because of COVID, we did them all 3 virtually, and they were all excellent. I mean, Nigeria this year also had strong grantees for the first time in a long time, and credit for that goes to Chris Ihidero, who's the lead there, and he's, as I mentioned earlier, this distinguished filmmaker, screenwriter, director, producer in Nigeria in the Nollywood sector. So, you know, I think we have a lot of opportunity, but we've got this now shrinking timeline within which to think about the future. So we welcome any thoughts that any of you have about how to do that effectively. As long as I can, I still want to stay involved, but I think the board is saying, Ann, you got to put a time frame on it, and so we're working from that perspective.
Well, I think this approach, while it was Zoom, I think it was a big step forward, and I think going to the country leaders was very helpful, because I think it got us a better group of grants,
absolutely,
and I think that that was probably the best thing we've done in the last 5 years to get to that.
Yeah.
We were working very hard, but we have it's a much more coherent and well-packaged thing for us to work on. So it's helped us a lot. So
yeah, our grant quality has gone up.
Yeah.
Many hundreds of %. So Jackson.
Yeah. First, I think someone mentioned too, this is one of the best days, you know, to get involved and witness such talent in pitches. It's quite an amazing thing that highlights the impact that GPA is having in these countries. I can highlight on Sorbet, for example, last year, the things they achieved. When Meghan and Harry from South Africa, they went to taste their ice cream, you know, their YouTube videos. And now we have Thugs of Comedy showing, you know, where GPA grant is taking them to coming this year again. So it's a testament to the great success that the investment has had on this. Mm-hmm. And that said, my analysis of today, and again, as I mentioned, I joined later, so I attended 5, but this also I appreciate the efforts that Ntsako has really made in reaching out to find quite a diverse group, because many of this year, for instance, if you look at Grace, which is more social justice, it's about legal presence from a cell phone, and you're talking of repository groups about the history to tell stories that are not available anywhere. So those are new areas that I'd never seen before. So, and all these are very exciting ideas, and of course the Thugs of Comedy themselves, but also the bee farming and the very recent group we had, which is Farm to Folk, to see young women who are coming from disadvantaged area, acquiring leasing land to start farming from the bottom and want to develop so much. So all these things are very, very exciting, and we had great quality of presentations. So I attended this 5, so that's my view, and all great, yeah.
Great, thank you. That's valuable to hear. Any thoughts, Bongi?
You know, and it's a bit of regret that we're talking 2 years, we're closing it just when we were taking off.
Yes, I know.
Taking us a long time.
Yeah.
It's kind of taken us a long time to take off. And I think the one lesson that we need to share with the development sector broadly is the role of small grants, because it's often this is what people need. They might later on need 5 million, but right now they need 5,000, and they need even less than 5,000, and miracles happen. And then you are able to create the absorption capacity for 5 million, but you have to start with a small grant. So I know many foundations are moving completely to, larger, longer term grants. I hope the space for the small grants, the grants that says we don't know quite, but we want to take the risk, because we can't do social development and people development with no risk.
Without it.
It has to have a risk. So it's already been, to you, congratulations, because this was really insightful. And it does not work without Jemmy, who really does a lot of work that we all don't see, but sifting through all of those things to get us to this point. Congratulations and thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you, Bongi.
Go, Jamie, go.
I do
and Jamie does do all the work.
All
of the work.
Oh, she does.
Yeah,
I don't know how she does it.
You're amazing.
I don't know how she does it.
She was incredible. We had a great. I love, and I'll echo 1,000% what I think Bongi and Bob said about having the consultants on board. They have really been transformational. They've been amazing to work with. And I think the best approach is to trust their judgment in their sourcing, give them the resources and let them fly. And we're going to be having some meetings with each one of them next week and learning how we can do this better. But I would really like to learn from them what they see their role expanding to be, if there's space for that, because they've taken us to a perspective that we would never have.
Right. And I hope to have a follow-up conversation with you, Bongi, about this, going into the future issue that we discussed initially, because there could be ways that we could continue to operate beyond 2 years with a different model. And so I think that's part of the challenge, is to figure out, as I said, the board was very clear that, we have other donors to GPA, but they're basically the friends of mine and Karen's, as well as all the board members. But we're all old, and so at some point it will end. So we need to just figure out how to operate over the next 2 years, and then maybe, I hope I live longer. I hope that the actuarial prediction is that I'll live into my early 90s. Whether I'll have all my marbles by then, I don't know. But somewhere between now and then, we've got some more running room. But we just have to figure it out so that we're doing something sensible. And I really agree that we have, with the country coordinators and the pitch sessions, we are getting quality that we just hadn't seen before. And it's too bad we didn't figure it out sooner, but thanks to Taco, we now are there. And so we need to look at where we are now and what the future is for what's been created. So you're going to be key to that, Bongi. So I will set up a follow-up phone call and see if we can talk about more about exactly what we might think about doing.
No, thank you, Anne.
Okay, and Jackson, you represent the younger generation here, so you can help us with those thoughts too. So send any follow-up thoughts. And Kevin, as usual, I'm so glad you could join. You know the business world in South Africa, and you know more than any of us about that space. So thanks for all the advice you always give us that ends up being valuable. And I think all these moves that we've been making toward digital are clearly paying off with COVID, and we know that's going to be a big part of the future. I mean, I sort of I don't miss traveling every week, but I sort of miss all the traveling I did. But my work is transformed by COVID. Most of the meetings that I do don't have to be in person, and I miss hugging, but the world is different. So with GPA2, I think we need to think about what we can do in this likely new future with the resources we can predictably have. We need to do the same kind of sustainability planning that we expect of our grantees. Okay, well, thanks very much. And please do send along any follow-up thoughts. We've been trying to capture things, and as Jamie mentioned, we've got these debriefs with each of the country coordinators planned for next week, early next week, Monday? Wednesday, okay, someday next week. So we'll be scooping all that up too. But I think we've really come way ahead of where we were even a year ago. And Jackson and Kevin, you were able to be present at that monumental turning point meeting a year ago. And I think we've really capitalized on it very well.
Fantastic.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for being with us. This is great. It's also great to have, I'm glad that Bob could be here and Karen could be here, and we're exploiting this approach too.
Yeah, I especially appreciate the opportunity to at least meet by Zoom. Kevin, I've heard your name for years. Bonji, I've heard your name for years. And it's really nice to put a face with that and a chance to speak with you via Zoom.
Great.
Jackson, nice to meet you.
And just so you know,
yeah, it's lovely meeting you.
Jackson is a distinguished up-and-coming young scientist and physician in South Africa. I met him through one of his fellowships, and he's an amazing shining star. A senior mentor in his field is someone I'm on a board with. So she's the lead in his field in South Africa. And when I mentioned his name, she lit up and said, "Oh yes, he's the future for pulmonary medicine in South Africa." So it's a privilege to be able to have you with us too.
Thank you. It's a privilege for me to be involved in such an impactful program. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Well, thanks to everyone. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more information and decisions that have to be made. Great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
He's the fellow in the middle. The dark hair. Yeah.